Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching What If Naruto Was Trained by League of Shadows. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The Kyuubi attack was 6 years ago. Two figures strolled through Konoha's streets. Both men covered their shoulders with black cloaks to hide their bodies. Both had broad shoulders and stood 6 feet tall. One was a middle-aged man with black eyes and bald hair, and the other had sideburns that reached nearly to his chin and rose to a tiny mustache. According to the bald man, "So this is where he lives, master?" The sideburn man responded, "Yes, Goshi, he lives here, but he doesn't live here, he just survives here." Goshi replied, "I understand, master, when will we make our presence known?" As he and his companion continued down the street, the leader of the two remarked, Soon this village will learn not to mess with Raz Al Ghul and those under his protection." When there was an explosion on the west side of the village, the third Hokage was in his office. He leapt from his chair, looked in the direction of the fireball, and said, "Know that near where Naruto lives?" He then leapt out the window and started running toward the fire scene with a number of other ninja. A bald-headed man wearing a black cloak materialized in front of him as he was running, and he threw a kunai at the third before the man vanished into smoke. The third person who witnessed this was taken aback by the sudden and severe attack, and he grabbed the kunai out of the air. "Sir, it looks like someone has destroyed the Naruto apartment building, and we have found a body in the rubble, sir, and it appears to be Naruto, but we can't be sure." He looked around when an Anbu in a dog mask landed close by and said, "Sir, the only thing left is the bones, sir, and even then they were heavily destroyed by the explosion, sir." The third looked down with a frown before saying, "Inu, I am not sure that is Naruto body. When I was on my way here, a figure appeared on the edge of the building over there and he attacked me with a single kunai before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Use your summons to search for his scent and track the man down and bring him in alive. Do not tell anyone else about this, though I believe that someone may have kidnapped Naruto." As he called forth a number of dogs to sniff the area where the third indicated, Inu tensed up and said, "Right away, sir, I hope you're right and wrong at the same time." One of the dogs then remarked, "Kakashi, there was someone here because I can smell Naruto's scent on him, but the man himself has no scent and I can't trace it." The third person inquired, "Can you track Naruto's scent then?" The dog nodded his head, "No. The buildings around us have several patches of his blood and that of an actual fox blood, so tracking him is impossible." The third gasped and replied, "I see, Inu. Take your summons outside the village walls and have them search for Naruto's scent. If they find anything, report back to me immediately and I will order a search." Inu inquired, "Why are you not ordering the search already, sir?" The third man bit his lip and said, "I noticed something about the kunai that was thrown at me earlier. I have only seen one other kunai like it in my entire life, but I am sworn to secrecy about it. If I am right about what it is, then the people behind this attack may be more dangerous than Iwa and Kyuubi put together." "I see, sir, I will carry out my orders then." Inu flinched and started to jump away, the summons trailing behind him. After saying, "Anbu," and returning to his office, the Sandaime said, "Get me Nara Shukaku." 4 figures who are always on standby appeared nearby in a room. About 20 minutes after the 4 vanished in a whirl of leaves, Shukaku reappeared with the words, "You wish to see me, sir?" The 4th Anbu swiftly departed by Shushin after the third said, "Leave us." The third said, "Earlier today the apartment building of Naruto Uzumaki was destroyed." After they had left, Shukaku stated, "I already discovered that myself. It appears that he was at home when it happens, as a body of similar size was pulled from the rubble. I am not sure that everything is as it appears, Shukaku," the third said, putting the kunai on the desk after a brief period of silence. "On my way to the scene of the explosion, I was briefly attacked. The person who attacked me only threw a kunai at me and left before it ever actually got close to me. The reason I called you is because of the kunai itself." After giving it a quick glance, Shukaku's eyes widened and he exclaimed, "It can't be." The third individual replied, "I know you were here with your father when he was telling me about your clan when I allowed them to join Konoha, so I know besides myself you were the only other person who has ever seen one like this." With a gesture toward the kunai, Shukaku said, "May I?" After the third nod, Shukaku picked it up, examined it, and saw that the handle had a seal engraved on it, a skull with swords behind it and daggers protruding from the mouth. After carefully examining every detail, Shukaku declared, "It's real, sir. It also has the indentions for the secret message." "What secret message?" inquired the third after glancing around. Shukaku picked up a blank piece of paper and the unlit third's pipe. He poured the ashes onto the seal, pressed the paper against it, and then withdrew it. When he did so, the words, "Kill 1 to save 1,000, appeared around the skull and swords. With wide eyes, the third said, "So it would appear as if the man who attacked me was working for the League of Shadows then." Shukaku replied, yes, and it appears that they were the ones who killed Naruto. Or took him. The third said he would be a great weapon, as Danzo has said, but I didn't want that life for him. If he is alive, sir, we may never know, Shukaku remarked. The third said, very well, and closed his eyes. Only the three of us will ever be aware of this. If Inu finds no additional evidence of Naruto or the assassin Naruto Uzumaki has officially passed away, we will honor him with a dignified funeral. Nobody else should be aware of any of this, understood? But what if the League returns, sir? Shukaku asked, nodding. We'll take care of it then, the third said. Wherever Naruto may be, I can only hope that he is content you've been fired. As Shukaku nods and walks away, the third says, I failed you, Minato. He resets his pipe and starts smoking it after glancing at the Yondaime's photo. 8 years later, time has passed. 3 figures appeared as they approached the gates of Konoha. The figure on the left was 5 feet 7 inches, and her curves, which were visible through her clothing, indicated that she was a woman. She was wearing a black shirt with built-in body armor and a blue sash around the waist, blue gloves that extended past her elbow, and a black hooded mask that only revealed her brown eyes and blue under her nose to her chin. The male figure on the right, who was around 5 feet 8, was dressed similarly to the previous one, but his eyes were black and his eyes were gold instead of blue. The individual in the center, who was 5 feet 10 inches and wore a black cloak that covered his entire body except for his head, had a face mask that was similar to the girl's, but you could only see his ice blue eyes. Who are you and why are you here? The 2 guards asked, glancing at the 3, as they arrived at the gates. I am Maelstrom, said the figure in the center. Sub-Zero is on my left, dressed in blue, and Scorpion is on my right, dressed in gold. We are here to visit the Hokage and request authorization to take the Chunin examinations. The Daimyo of Wave, our sponsor, has given us papers. Please take us to see the Hokage. After exchanging glances, one of the guards asked, what village do you represent, while wearing bandages across his nose. As of right now, we are independent, Maelstrom stated. We hope to demonstrate our abilities in the exams and receive an offer to join a village. These 3 would like to see the Hokage about entering the exams, the guard said as a group of 4 Anbu appeared after the other guard gestured to a nearby building. When the Anbu turned to face the 3, one wearing a dragon mask said, follow us. The other 3 Anbu formed a diamond around the 3, and he started to lead them. In a language that only his friends understood, Scorpion remarked, they fear what they don't understand, as a number of people in the town stared at them in curiosity and fear. If they knew, just think of what they would do. I've seen firsthand what they can do and I am not impressed, Maelstrom remarked in the same language. In the same language, Sub-Zero stated, but now the tables are turned and we will bring order to chaos. As they ascended the stairs to the 5th floor and proceeded toward the Hokage office, the Anbu who had spoken earlier knocked and the Sandame voice said, enter. All 3 nod, and the Anbu gave them a strange look. When the group entered after the Anbu had opened the door, the third person turned to face the newcomers and said, yes, may I assist you? Yes, this is Sub-Zero and Scorpion. My name is Maelstrom. Maelstrom said, we are here to ask for authorization to take the Chunin examinations. I have a certificate of authenticity to support my claim, and the Daimyo of Wave has offered to support us if you agree. After the test, the 3 of us independent nomads hope to receive an invitation from one of the villages to join. The third replied, I see. If I may ask, who trained you, because the exams are extremely dangerous and I don't want to take the chance of entering you in them unless I believe you are able to take care of yourself. I understand, Maelstrom said. Intro, Sub-Zero, he said, taking a step back. I am Sub-Zero, formerly of the Land of Mist, Sub-Zero declared as he moved forward. I worked as an apprentice for 3 years under Zabuza Momochi, 1 year under Uchiha Itachi, 2 years under Tsunade Senju, and 2 years under another sensei, she said, taking a step back. All 4 Anbu were staring, and the third one asked, do you have any proof? I can summon a slug to demonstrate that Tsunade trained me, but I can only demonstrate my abilities to the other teachers, Sub-Zero stated. I have nothing to prove it. Very well, show me your summon, the third said, scowling briefly and thinking, Tsunade, what the hell are you doing? Sub-Zero nods and calls forth a tiny slug, which surveys its surroundings before being let go. Very well, said the third, although I can see that Tsunade is your trainer, I would like to know why Zabuza and Itachi trained you. I have a bloodline, and Zabuza thought I might be useful until he was offered a way to stop being hunted by missing nins, Sub-Zero said, referring to the reason Zabuza saved him from the Land of Mist. Following that, he and I parted ways. Itachi removed a poison that had been administered to him and taught the 3 of us taijutsu as well as some offensive and defensive jutsu. After a year, when he judged us to be on par with Chunin in taijutsu, he fired us and went off on his own. I see. What about the other two of you? The third person said. Scorpion glanced at Maelstrom, who said, my name is Scorpion, and nodded. I used to live in the land of wind. Akasuna no Sasori, Uchiha Itachi, and another sensei trained me, he said, taking a step back. Wide-eyed once more, the third questioned, do you have any proof? Scorpion said, may I demonstrate with the dummy in the corner? After glancing around the room and spotting a training dummy in the corner. When the third nods, Scorpion stands up and lifts his left arm. A kunai slides out of its end, and Scorpion says, come over here. The kunai blasts through the target, then spikes shoot out of the side of the chain-connected kunai, yanking the target out of the corner and towards Scorpion before it explodes. As the chain and kunai re-entered his hand and the skin covered over so you couldn't even tell it was there, Scorpion said, like Sasori, I am a master of human puppetry as well as poisons and a few other skills I rather not mention. The Anbu and the third were both shocked and impressed by this. The third saw Maelstrom and said, and you, he thought, that is a lethal attack, and I have no doubt that he has other attacks like that in his body. My ally's strength should be more than enough to demonstrate that we are capable of taking the Chunin exams without putting ourselves in too much danger, Maelstrom stated. As you can see, I am clearly in charge here, and both of them can attest to my strength, which allows me to defeat them both at once in order to prevent Konoha from having an unfair advantage over other nations looking to hire us. I would rather keep my skills a secret for the actual exams. After blinking, the third said, you mean join right? No, sir, Maelstrom said. I'm from Fire Country, unlike my allies here, and I witnessed firsthand the useful work of Konoha when I witnessed the villagers and ninja of this village attack and attempt to kill a child more than 8 years ago. I will never be a ninja in Konoha's village. Because of that, I'll work for you under contract, but I wouldn't join if there weren't any incentives. Frowsing, the third said, I see. I take it that these views are shared with your allies. Scorpion and Sub-Zero both nodded when Maelstrom said, yes. If I may ask, what is your opinion of Sasuke Uchiha? Inquired the third. Maelstrom snorted and remarked, if you're trying to figure out if we're here to kill him, you should keep in mind why he's still alive in the first place. Yes, Itachi was kind enough to show us a specific insurance policy, but we don't care about Sasuke. We have a purpose for being here. After glancing at them for a moment, the third went pale and questioned, what are those reasons? That's what negotiations are for, Maelstrom said, fixing his gaze on the thirds. You just need to be motivated enough to start negotiating after the tests if you want to know. Very well, the third said, observing the icy expression in Maelstrom's eyes. Take these three to the Rose Tree Inn, Anbu, and arrange for a room for them. Exams are scheduled for tomorrow at 1 p.m. in room 301 of the academy. As they lead them out of the office, the Anbu nod and one of them says, follow us. After leaving, the third said, ANBU, I want those three followed, declared the third of the 4 new ANBUs that appeared. Don't allow them to meet Team 7 until after the exams, he said gravely. In a flurry of leaves, all 4 bowed and departed. Something is wrong here, the third person thought as he peered out the window in order to destroy the leaf. Tsunade first allows someone to sign her summoning contract. This person was trained by Itachi and is aware of the truth about the Uchiha massacre. After the hotel room was checked out and the privacy jutsu was installed, Maelstrom turned and said, well. Sub-Zero stated, there was a shadow following us after we passed the 3rd Street on our way to the tower. One of my contacts in Orochimaru operations has been compromised, Scorpion stated. As soon as we arrived in the village, I sent the signal, but he never responded, indicating that his programming had been disabled. He must be in the village because he is taking exams with one of my other contacts. Maelstrom replied, all right Scorpion, if he's been compromised when the chance appears, eliminate him and any witnesses. Scorpion responded, yes, sir. There were 2 bedrooms in the room, so Naruto turned to face Sub-Zero, took her by the hand, and started dragging her toward one of them. Scorpion said, please remember the privacy jutsu this time, Naruto. Scorpion laughed when Maelstrom turned to face him and said, blow me Sasori. In a seductive voice, Sub-Zero uttered, I thought that was my job, Naruto-kun. Scorpion replied, make sure you use protection Haku, you don't know where all that has been. As the door slammed shut, Sub-Zero remarked, oh I know, but I know where it's going. After turning around, Scorpion sat down on a couch and reflected, it's been 5 years has it Naruto since that day. Rewind. In an attempt to regain some chakra, Sasori stood with the remnants of all his puppets destroyed and almost depleted of it due to the severe damage to his original body. He said, so you have nearly defeated me, so tell me before we see how this plays out, why have you attacked me? I have come here to offer you a job, said the person on the sand dune across from him. My master has sent me to test you and determine whether you are qualified for the position I am offering. My name is Maelstrom. Sasori inquired, and what is this job? To join the League of Shadows, also called the League of Assassins, Maelstrom said. I am aware that your heart is your weakness, but if you agree, you will gain access to long-forgotten and forbidden knowledge about poisoning and puppetry, as well as a new body that will better protect the one aspect of you that is still human. Before I came to see you, my master had me do as much research as possible on puppetry, and I have to admit that, despite your considerable skill with puppetry, you are still only using the bare minimum in comparison to what we have to offer. And what proof do you have that you know more than me? Asked Sasori, who was shocked to learn that the person he had been fighting for the past hour had known how to kill him all along. While I have been sitting comfortably a mile east of here in the oasis that you were heading toward before my puppet here attacked you, the body that you have been fighting and that has defeated you has been a puppet to look like me the entire time, Maelstrom said. So are you interested, Sasori? You will be a lifelong member if you choose to join. We will destroy you if you ever consider leaving or betraying us. All you need to do is accept the deal. My master is a very wise man. As the puppet said, Sasori was staring at the body in disbelief when he at last felt a tiny chakra trace that led to the oasis. And if I refuse? According to Maelstrom's body, you will discover when you decide. After being silent for a while, Sasori remarked, very well, I agree. Finish the flashback. Scorpion closed his eyes to rest, thinking, and I would never have imagined what I learned while training under the League of Shadows or what I have done as well. In silence, the girl who was lying on Naruto's shoulder later that night asked, so tomorrow the League of Shadows shall begin its return. Yes, Haku, said Naruto, we start the process of assuming control of the elemental nations tomorrow. I intend to fulfill my grandfather's assignment to bring this part of the world under control. As she kissed him, Haku remarked, I will follow you, my lord, no matter what. I know, Haku, Naruto said, grinning slightly. I am aware. Get some rest for what lies ahead. You must have your strength. As do you, Haku said, meeting his eyes. Naruto, you're not immortal. Kill one to save 1,000, kill a city to save a country, destroy a country to save a nation, and destroy a nation to save the world, Naruto said, kissing her before drawing her close and closing his eyes. That's what we're here to do. As he allowed sleep to take over, he said, we are the League of Shadows. As the Team Shadow passed the building on their way to the academy the following day, Maelstrom thought, so after I was gone they rebuilt the building and repaired all the damage to my old apartment and neighborhood. Remember, Naruto, stay calm and silent. Scorpion looked at one of the teams that entered the building as they got closer to the academy and remarked, well, that's interesting. Sub-Zero inquired, what? The boy with makeup is a puppet user, and the one on his back is named Crow, Scorpion said, pointing with his head toward the Suna team. It's a puppet from Sasori's past. As Maelstrom put it, remembering the past. Scorpion stated, I would kill myself if I ever used one as simple as that nowadays, even if it was one of my better works at the time. Modest are we, Maelstrom snorted as he and his team entered the building. He said, come, let's go. When they reached the second floor, they discovered that many people were gathered around a door. Maelstrom shook his head and threw a kunai at the wall behind everyone who was facing the opposite direction. Everyone was startled by the explosion, so he went to the new hole in the wall and used chakra to start walking up the side of the building, Scorpion and Sub-Zero following. While some genin were aware of what was going on, others gazed at the three in confusion. Three figures ran up to the large group, who were all looking around. One of them demanded, what happened here? Everyone turned to watch them, and a few identified them as Team 7. Neji shot Sasuke, saying, you're too weak to realize what happened here, Uchiha. He turned and started to leave, his teammates trailing behind him. When Sasuke glared back at Neji and turned to face the others, he yelled, release the genjutsu. Some people slapped their faces, while others stared in confusion. So you picked it up, one of the genin by the door said as he went to punch Sasuke, who went to kick him. They both struck, sending Sasuke flying backward into Sakura's arms, while the other genin was sent into his partner and both shined away. Well, detecting it is only half the challenge. Sasuke glared at where they had been standing and immediately straightened up. He noticed that some people were laughing at him, and his teammate Sai remarked, good job, Dickless. Sasuke chose to ignore them all and continued on toward the third floor. Ah, Sakura, Sasuke, Sai, said Kakashi, who was standing there when he arrived. I'm happy that all three of you made it. Sai was saying, Dickless here got into a fight on the way here with a chunin and got his ass handed to him. As she attempted to strike Sai, who stepped aside and uttered the words, whatever, when she missed, Sakura yelled, don't talk about Sasuke-kun like that, and that guy was a genin. Listen to me, all three of you, Kakashi said with a sigh. I've been asked by Hokage-sama to relay a message to all three of you. The tests are being taken by a separate team. All three are wearing black, with the exception of one who is wearing gold and another who is wearing blue. Their eyes are the only distinguishing feature. We believe they may have been sent here for reasons other than the exams. So he wants you to stay away from them at all costs, maybe to attempt to abduct one of the clan's heirs or possibly to pilfer one of the bloodlines. Sai inquired, how much of a threat does he believe they are? I'm not sure, but I am aware that he had Anbu Black Ops follow them from the time they arrived in the village until they entered the building. Kakashi remarked some of their handiwork on the new window on the second floor was already visible to you. This made Sakura a little frightened, and Sai appeared bored while Sasuke appeared intrigued. He shushined away, saying, well, good luck all of you. Kakashi thought, I should not have said anything to them because I fear Sasuke will seek them out, but I was given orders to inform them. All three noticed the team Kakashi mentioned sitting in the corner, but everyone appeared to be avoiding them. Team 7 entered the room and found everyone staring at them. When Sasuke-kun was shouted, everyone turned to Ino, who leapt on Sasuke's back. Sakura and Ino started screaming at each other, attracting the other rookie genin to them. Kabuto then approached and said, you all should be a little quieter because you're drawing attention toward yourself. Gazing at Kabuto, Kiba sneered and uttered, and who the hell are you? I thought I might give you all some free advice to help you with the exams, Kabuto said as he showed them the cards. He said, you see, I have taken this test before and I have gathered a lot of information on the other competitors. Do you have any information on specific people? Inquired Sasuke. Yes, Kabuto said, pushing up his glasses. I can show you if you just let me know who you want. With a gesture toward the team Shadow, Sasuke said, them. Kabuto said, the three assassins, as he glanced at Team Shadow. As he produced 3 cards, they displayed images of each, and he stated, the one on the left in blue is code-named Sub-Zero. I have heard a lot about them recently, but I don't know how much is true. Since she has never been in Fire Country, she is not listed in the Konoha Bingo book. However, in Mist, her hometown, she is known as the Ice Assassin. She killed 35 Junin, 54 Chunin, and 111 Genin, as well as a little more than 75 mercenaries in Wave Country, thanks to her bloodline that enables her to use ice. With a nervous look on his face, Sub-Zero nods to Kabuto, who then moves her card back into the deck. Next we have Scorpion. Kabuto said people call him the Puppet Assassin. According to rumors, he was a student of Akasuna no Sasori before killing him, and he is originally from Wind Country. In addition, he has killed 18 Junin, 96 Chunin, 46 Genin, 200 mercenaries, and 3,999 civilians. He nods slowly as he replaces the card in his deck. Now that the 3 Suna siblings were staring at the team assassin, Kankuro was shocked and thought, he killed Akasuna no Sasori and was trained by him. Almost everyone was staring at Team Shadow in terror by this point. And then there's Maelstrom, Kabuto said as he revealed the final card, the Killer of Storm. He is to blame for the deaths of the Yondaime Mizukage, 299 Junin, 379 Chunin, 100 Genin, 200 academy students, 1,000 mercenaries, and more than 10,000 civilians. As everyone else stared at him in terror, a few people left the room, some of them urinating. Maelstrom replied, you seem well informed about what we did in Mist Country. Kabuto-san. Wait, Ino said. That was real, she said in a terrified tone. According to Maelstrom, somewhat but also not entirely true. Well, which is it? Kiba asked. Is it accurate or not? According to Maelstrom, after his father was killed approximately 4 years ago by one of the factions in the Bloodline Civil War that has been raging there for more than a century, the current feudal lord in the Land of Water took over, he said. He started looking for someone who could put an end to the conflict there out of fear for his own life. We got in touch with one of his representatives, who was seeking candidates for the position. The cost in gold bars was $2 billion. Despite our age, he hired the 3 of us right away because we had nothing to lose but our lives, and no one else even hesitated to accept the job since the hidden village of Mist was the one sustaining the conflict. We looked for the simplest way to end it there and found that it was to simply destroy it. Sub-Zero took over here and stated, we spent almost a month spying to find the best way to accomplish this, and we found that the Mizukage head of security was a Junin because his father paid to have him promoted as such, despite the fact that his skills were barely Chunin. He was nothing more than a monster who would find any young woman he could and bring her to his place, acting like a true gentleman and raping her repeatedly before killing her. Since we discovered that one of his many repulsive habits was consuming large amounts of salt, we decided that I would be his next target in order to further harm the girls he raped. His manhood was dubbed Salt Lick by him. With that knowledge, We set up every salt shaker in the restaurant. He used to have a tasteless and odorless drug that disrupted chakras, which I learned about from Tsunade-sama during my training with her. We walked through the woods that our team had scouted. After dinner, on our way back to his place, I led him into an ambush where the three of us attacked and killed him while the drug made him weaker. Scorpion remarked. I then transformed him into a human puppet using my understanding of human puppetry. After that, I managed to get him to lead the three of us into the Mizukage office, where we introduced ourselves and informed him that we were aware of a group of bloodline users who had banded together to attempt to instigate a revolt. He was listening to us tell our tale when he failed to notice his head of security approaching from behind. He tried to kill him by stabbing a kunai into his skull, but he reacted at the last second, and Maelstrom used his attention to kill him. The security chief and I hurriedly took his body, sealed it in a scroll, and left the office. I then made the Mizukage into a puppet as well, and he named me his new head of village security, dressed as a member of Tide or Mist Anbu, and named Sub-Zero here as his new secretary, dressed in civilian clothes. Maelstrom then sent a message to our former sensei, giving him a copy of the Mizukage's handwriting and official stamp, and he made full pardons for both Zabuza Momochi and himself. Then we had a group of Anbu who were informed that both were exonerated of all charges against them and that Zabuza's attempt on the Mizukage's life was a deep cover agent and that he had first joined the village to form a new clan. They accepted the falsehood we told them, and the Mizukage puppet introduced Zabuza as the Godem Mizukage after first announcing in public the fictitious undercover mission he was on. After Zabuza assumed the role of Mizukage, he appointed the person who accompanied him and whom we had forged the Mizukage's signature to be his head of security, Maelstrom stated. They then have us work in the background to find out who was causing all of the conflict between the two factions and to scout out ninjas and civilians. Since we had been working to end the war and the only people we had to kill were the Mizukage and his head of security, the feudal lord, who received weekly reports on our activities, approved of both Zabuza and the other individual and began giving us a portion of our overall payout to fund our operation. Then, using the information we provided, Zabuza sent the troublemakers on suicide missions. By simply reclassifying some S-class missions as C and B rank missions, we were able to eliminate the majority of Tide as well as the unwanted Junin and Chunin by allowing them to be killed on missions. While this was going on, he introduced us as assassins and misled the council about 3 assassins he had working to put an end to the bloodline war. Since there were 3 of the biggest bloodline haters on the council at that particular meeting, he ordered each of us to kill a civilian at first. The council did not want to believe him, but no one wanted to annoy him. Following that, he declared that the bloodline war was over and that anyone caught attacking a bloodline user would be killed, according to Sub-Zero. The 3 of us went as squad leaders to instill fear in people to put an end to the fighting after he sent Tide to places where people attempted to start uprisings and publicly assassinated them. As soon as word got out, the council attempted to overthrow Zabuza-sama and engaged mercenaries to murder the 3 of us by a stroke of luck. The town where they were gathering to begin the uprising was one of the port villages on the island's south side. A tsunami came through and barely touched the land of mist, but it destroyed the entire village, killing every man, woman, and child there except for one. Me, Maelstrom said. In order to find out what the council members were up to, I had been sent to follow them. When the tsunami struck, I used my substitute summon, and in order to survive, it had to anchor itself to the ground and hide me in its mouth. I was dubbed the Storm Assassin because of this. People from neighboring villages, along with a team Zabuza sent to investigate why I hadn't returned, thought I was the cause of the tsunami. Zabuza saw how the people responded to the devastation and used it to finally put an end to the war once and for all. Sub-Zero and Scorpion had already been mentioned enough to earn their nicknames. The codenames Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Maelstrom were then revealed to us. We ended the century-long conflict in a haze and only killed about 30 people that year. The feudal lord paid us the remaining amount in gold. Zabuza allowed us to travel freely to and from the land of water, and he entered our names in their bingo book along with the total number of deaths in each mission and the destroyed village. This helped us establish our reputation and instilled fear in the people of water that we would return and kill them if they ever attempted to resume the civil war. In my opinion, we did the world a favor by allowing many more people to live without having to worry about being hunted down and killed simply for existing. He shrugged his shoulder and said, "Kill 1 to save 1,000. That is our nindo." Several people blinked at this. The information in the bingo book I read is wildly exaggerated, Kabuto stated. Isn't that incredibly convenient? However, Sub-Zero stated, it's true too. A 10-year-old and a scorpion here did what no one believed was possible. They killed 2 men to end a war before calling in some favors for our friends for many years. Mist has been a ticking time bomb. I witnessed the bloodline purges that Mist Country had firsthand because of the blood that runs through my veins. My father had a mob kill my mother in front of me before turning on me and killing me as well. So you're all bark and no bite in the end, said Kiba, who had calmed down. Everyone else in the room relaxed as they considered what they had heard and realized how such a plan could work, though some were curious about the skills that Team Shadow had mentioned. I knew it all the time, he said with a smirk. The third, along with a few other ninja, was listening to all of this in the Hokage office as the exam room calmed down and Kabuto left. When the third heard this, his eyes widened, he gasped, and he exclaimed, "It can't be." This caused everyone in the room to turn to face him. Observing the shocked expression on the third's face, Ibiki inquired, "What is it, sir?" Everyone was wide-eyed when the third person, after giving it some thought, said, "Ibiki, proceed with the plan, but keep an eye on that team, but do not fail them for any reason." "But why, sir?" asked Kakashi. "Why are you allowing them to get away with it? It has never occurred before. What is happening to so drastically deviate from the agreed-upon plan?" The third said, "I have a mission for you, Kakashi, but I won't explain it just yet. Send a message to Kakashi Sai during the preliminary matches. I want him to do whatever it takes to reveal Maelstrom. Anko, make arrangements for that match." "What is going on, Hokage-sama?" inquired Anko when Danzo is supposed to be shadowing the Uchiha. "Why are you using his little lackey to reveal this Maelstrom guy's identity?" Everyone in the room looked suspicious when the third scowled and said, "I need to know if he might be who I think he is." "I apologize for asking, sir, but I believe that everyone in this room is thinking the same thing," Kakashi said. "You already have Anbu watching this team. So why are you so interested in them? Why is it that you feel the need to alter the Chunin exams in order to expose him?" The third said, "I apologize to Kakashi and all others, but I am unable to disclose any more information without jeopardizing one of the most important secrets of the Konoha clans. When I see his face, I'll know if I'm correct." "Very well," Kakashi said with a frown. "Where, sir, will the preliminary rounds be held?" "According to the third, the tower on training ground 44. Ibiki gives a nod and walks away in a cloud of smoke. "Change of plans," he said when he appeared in a staging room. "Keep an eye on the independent team without failing them." As he triggered a seal on the wall, the Hokage gave the order, and everyone in the room materialized in room 301. Ibiki thought, what is it about that team that has the Hokage so worried he would break the official rules agreed upon by every nation for the Chunin exams? As he arrived and noticed that everyone was a little afraid of Team Shadow, he then said, "Okay, settle down. Ibiki Marino, I am your proctor for the first exam. The Chunin there will give each of you a number, and you are to take the seat corresponding to that number. Once everyone is seated, we will start the test." "Idiots," Maelstrom thought as he surveyed the room. Naturally, that was a highly altered version of the actual events. "It was me, or rather Kyuubi with his tail, who created the tsunami. I'm shocked that nobody inquired about the identity of Miss Security Chief. Telling them it was none other than Uchiha Itachi would have been amusing. In reality, Haku's last test to demonstrate her readiness to join the League of Shadows was the Mizukage's assassination. Justice was served by putting an end to the bloodline war that had destroyed her family." Maelstrom found himself seated directly in front of Hinata, 3 seats above Sakura, and 2 seats across from Ino. As everyone started to take their seats, Scorpion was seated at the top on the far left of the room, and Sub-Zero was seated on the far right in the front. Maelstrom snorted when he saw this, thinking, "So that's the way you're trying to pull it? Make us use some of our skills to pass this exams, idiots." He smirked behind his mask and started his plan. After placing a small object on the desk in front of him and slipping his cloak-covered hand on it, a tiny click signaled the object's opening. When Ibiki noticed that everyone was seated, he said, "All right. I can now explain the test since everyone is seated. There are 9 questions on the test in front of you, and question number 10 is blank. The final 15 minutes of the test will be when the 10th question is asked. Everyone now starts with 10 points. 2 points will be subtracted for each instance in which you are caught cheating. Your team will be eliminated if you run out of points. 2 points will be subtracted for each incorrect response. The Chunins in the room have been trained to spot infidelity." He sat down at his desk and said, "You can start now." When he noticed that none of the 3 members of the assassin team had even picked up their pencils, he scowled and thought, strange. Leaning back to see his feet without any issues, he tensed as he felt something crawl up his leg. He blinked as he noticed several tiny silk worms on his leg, which quickly turned into silk that formed words. He read the entire message in less than 5 minutes. "My team and I are going birthday present shopping today for the old monkey, and we ran into an old student of his and he is looking for contacts lenses at a 5-finger discount. He's thinking about either lavender white or red and black. Maybe you should buy the white ones that are not sealed away in storage, since the store owner would be very upset with the loss of business, and my team will buy the red and black ones to make sure the discount is expired." We don't have enough money to buy both, though we do have enough, though we can get your sister a special snakeskin purse and you a snakeskin wallet for monkey birthday at the end of 5 days you can give him with those contacts. Don't tell your sister, though she can't keep a secret and gets all excited. Maybe if you got the money a nice little music collection from the new kids would sing a song for her for the next few days. I mean, she's into Confessions of the Heart from what I hear, and since they do backups to her favorite singer who does the song Love Bites on Your Shoulder, they can give her a great time till Monkey's birthday. Acknowledge the Stormkiller. Maelstrom the artist is officially known as the son of the irate Shinigami and the cowardly photographer. I hope no one interrupts my business trip to him, but since I can't make it to Monkey's birthday party, I tell him that my manager's last single, Great Ball of Fire, has a new single called Forest Fire that is ready to be released. If I don't get in touch with him and ask him to change the title to Save the Forest, it might be released early. I would hate to see a great song like that turn to ash. He scowled and thought, what the hell? According to this, Orochimaru is coming for the Sharingan and the Byakugan. The silkworms crawled away as he read it repeatedly. It also mentions Orochimaru's excellent teamwork. What the rest of it means is beyond me. He looked up and saw Maelstrom nod slowly. I can understand the threat to the Leaf Village if we interfere, but what the rest? He asked. When Ibiki saw Akamaru barking on Kiba's head and throwing a kunai at his test, he scowled and bit his lip. Number 91 fail. Several proctors stared at him in disbelief, and Kiba looked at him and said, what the hell? I am in charge of this test, and I have caught you cheating 5 times, Ibiki stated. You don't succeed. As he stood up and led his group out of the room, Kiba sighed and said, sorry boy, I guess they caught us. Sorry Shino, Hinata. After leaving the room, a kunai with a note attached struck the wall in front of them. Kiba slowly picked up the kunai, unwrapped the note, and read it. The 3 of them appeared shocked. Your team was one of the targets of a plot to steal one of the clan's Konoha heirs, and the village security received a tip about it, which is why you failed rather than your own lack of abilities. Acknowledged Al Ghul's Ra the Shadow League. See Nara Shukaku right away with this note for additional details. Upon reading this, Kiba snarled and exclaimed, what the fuck is this? Perhaps we should do as the note instructs, Shino said after reading the note. I'm not aware of anything or anyone by the name of the League of Shadows, but if they were able to make the proctor fail our team, we ought to find out why so that we can tell our respective clans. Yes, Kiba-kun, Hinata said in a stuttering voice. My dad will want to know why we didn't succeed. As he punched the wall and they started to walk away, Kiba snarled and said, fine. After Team 8 was expelled from the exam room, Ibiki turned to face the other students. He squinted at the team assassins, who all appeared to be oblivious. He then signaled one of the proctors and walked away in a flurry of leaves. The third glanced up from his paperwork when Ibiki entered the Hokage office and asked, yes, Ibiki, what is it? No more lies, Ibiki declared, slamming his fist against the desk. Your small project just told me to fail 2 teams. I completed 1 team, and while I'm willing to fail another, I need answers. Who are they? What do you mean? The third asked, glancing at Ibiki. With the silk message still in his hand, Ibiki slammed it onto the desk and uttered the words, THIS. After reading the message, the third person's eyes widened. He scowled, and he said, so it is him. WHO? Ibiki inquired with a terrified expression on his face. Shukaku entered the Hokage office at that moment. Upon seeing Ibiki there, he handed the note to the third and remarked, we have got a problem, sir. When Ibiki noticed Shukaku's anxious expression, he said, who's back? After reading it, the third person inquired, do you know anything about this Raz Al Ghul? Shukaku? Just a little, sir, and is it okay to talk about it here with Ibiki? Shukaku scowled. Ibiki, I don't mean to imply that I don't trust you, but this is a clan secret and it seems that he needs to know as much as you do, Shukaku, the third person said, interrupting him. Additionally, they sent Ibiki a message telling him to fail both Team 8 and another team. They assert that Orochimaru is present and that he is pursuing the Byakugan and the Sharingan. Ibiki said in a sour tone, will someone tell me exactly what is going on, as Shukaku scowled. The third asked, do you remember Naruto Uzumaki? Shukaku scowled and nodded. Ibiki said, yes, who doesn't, but what does he have to do with anything? With a bewildered expression and a blink, he passed away almost 8 years ago. The third stated, I was en route to the scene of the Naruto building explosion 8 years ago when a man showed up and attacked me with a single kunai before departing. I identified the kunai after seeing it as one that was originally used by the Nara clan prior to their arrival in Konoha. After Shukaku confirmed it, I thought at the time that Naruto might not have been in the building at all but had instead been abducted by the League of Shadows, a clan secret organization to which the Nara clan once belonged. Also known as the League of Assassins, Shukaku stated for more than 400 years, My clan served them. We developed all of our clan jutsu while we were with them, including our understanding of the medications we use for Konoha. Making both men wide-eyed, Ra's al Ghul founded the League of Shadows more than 2 millennia ago. But how can that be? Inquired the third. The note you have here indicates that he is still alive. That's the odd thing about him, sir, Shukaku remarked. He is said to be immortal, sir. He works in the background like a puppet master. He shows up, gets everything going the way he wants it to for a while, and then fades back into the background for a few years or even decades before making a comeback. When I was still a young child, he once appeared in front of the League and told my grandfather to take us out of the League of Shadows and bring us to Konoha so we could help save the Leaf Village, which is exactly what we did. After our clan was organized, my father was sent back to inform him that we were following his instructions, only to find out that everyone had died. Raz had destroyed them and disappeared once more, leaving only one messenger to inform my father that our clan was the only one worth preserving and that this sector had been tainted by the ideologies of those seeking power. As the League of Shadows has done since our creation, he said, either go back to Konoha and help the village flourish, or one day he would come back and clean it up. The League of Shadows has been responsible for the rise and fall of nations for more than 2 millennia. They would use all necessary methods to purify a society if it became too corrupted. In addition to sending ships full of rats carrying plagues to island nations, they also set entire cities on fire, destroyed entire economies, provided weapons to a nation's enemies, killed leaders, bought off politicians, backed leaders who would bring about peace, and both initiated and ended civil wars. Ibiki looked at him and replied, so those 3 are members of this League of Shadows and they have already assassinated the Mizukage, brought about an end to the civil war in Mist, and replaced the leader there, and now they're here to assassinate Orochimaru. The third replied, and it appears that Naruto Uzumaki is a member and that he knows who his parents were. At that, Shukaku blinked and inquired, what do you mean, sir? The third scowled as he gave Shukaku the silk message. Shukaku read it, his eyes widened, and he said, I see the angry Shinigami would be the Red Death, and the cowardly photographer would be the Yellow Flash. Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze are the parents of Naruto Uzumaki. Ibiki failed that other team he mentioned and take care of them personally, the third said, closing his eyes since the message's final section discussed the fireball that destroyed Naruto's apartment 8 years prior. There was nothing we could do at the moment. He is stating that other people are prepared to leave if he does not report in. With a frown, Ibiki questioned, what should we do? Have Anbu search for any indications of danger, question that sound team, and allow that team to pass. The third said it seems that they are not here to kill Sasuke, which alarmed me. At that moment, the note Shukaku had brought in was covered in smoke, drawing the attention of all 3. When it was cleared, a picture had replaced it, and the third person glanced at it, blinked briefly, and said, well, that is interesting. He then put the picture down. Shukaku said, isn't that? After Ibiki and Shukaku both looked at it and became wide-eyed. Yes. The third replied, the image shows Tsunade standing beside her apprentice Shizune, who looks to be pregnant, with 2 small toddlers at her feet. Itachi Uchiha, dressed as a member of the Head of the Mist Tide, is holding Shizune, and Zabuza Momochi, dressed as the Mizukage, is standing next to them, smiling like a father would at a child. I now understand the reason behind the Sub-Zero Girls' Tsunade summoning contract. We're dead to rights with them. Ibiki, you have your orders. If the League of Shadows has Tsunade, Shizune, and Itachi all together as it seems, then they are aware of our Anbu, medical training, academy training, and the majority of our well-known ninja. After Ibiki scowls and exits the office, the third person says, Shukaku, please review any clan archives you may have, look for anything that might help our village. Naruto, Tsunade, Shizune, and Itachi all have reasons to despise the Leaf Village, though I didn't say this in front of Ibiki. Shukaku responded, I understand, sir, and if it comes down to it, then my clan will side with the Leaf, sir. I know, Shukaku, said the third. I am aware, and I never had any doubts about your clan. You can leave. What should I do about Team 8, sir? Shukaku asked my wife, and they are currently at my clan compound. I came here right away after they gave me this message. Give this to them to give to their clan, the third said, hastily filling out 3 scrolls. It merely informs them that we have been notified by a deep cover agent about a plot to abduct a prominent heir to one of the Konoha clans. Since one of their members was specifically mentioned, I had that team pulled to protect them to ensure that the agent was not compromised. They had to see you rather than me, and I won't reveal which member it was. As he took the 3 scrolls and departed in a flurry of leaves, Shukaku said, thank you, sir. Upon returning to the room, Ibiki signaled the Chunin from earlier, who nodded and held up 2 fingers. Ibiki scowled, thinking, so they only caught them cheating twice. The Chunin scowled and uttered, number 111 fail. Kin replied, "What kind of shit is this? I have been done for over 15 minutes now, so how can I fail?" Ibiki replied, "I sent a message to the Chunin in the room since I felt sorry for your village to see if your other 2 teammates would pass and all 3 of you were caught cheating 5 times. Zaku was screaming, "That bullshit, there is no way you caught us cheating 5 times. Proctors 19, 33, and 35. Take him and both of his teammates to a holding cell until I think they have calmed down. I don't want them to disrupt the rest of these tests and cause trouble in the village." Ibiki moved faster than most people in the room could see and slammed his elbow into Zaku's ribs, saying, "I am the rules here. You will do as I say. I don't know what your village thinks of your skills, but you don't impress me and your attitude needs some discipline." When Zaku realized what he had said, he tried to move, but Ibiki hit him with a pressure point, knocking him unconscious. "You just said the wrong thing, buddy," he said, holding his chest. "You will pay for this. Orochimaru-sama will. If you and your village are connected to him, then I am going to have to hold you and your sensei for questioning." In a terrified tone, Kin stated, "We don't know Orochimaru. Zaku only joined our village a few months ago." Ibiki looked at her and replied, "Then you better pray you're telling the truth and he doesn't tell me otherwise. Proctors put them in separate holding cells and have Anbu watch them until I finish these exams." A senbon needle pierced Genin Dosu's side of the neck as the 3 proctors attempted to seize the 3 sounds. Ibiki saw that it was from Sub-Zero and said, "It looked like he was going to attack you from behind when my teammate was between you and him. So I saved my teammate's life. He is only as a fake death." The needle hit a pressure point to knock him out. Ibiki nods and thought, "That kind of precision takes years to achieve and she acts like it was nothing. Those 3 really are assassins. I wonder though if they will be enough for Orochimaru though. She appears to be a long-distance medical ninja and based on her name and the story from before she has an ice bloodline. Scorpion is a puppet user who uses Suna forbidden jutsu trained by what is considered the best puppet user ever before he killed him. Or recruited him. I know some about puppet users and they often turn their own body into puppets to some extent. One of Sasori's skill level would definitely do that, but to what did he turn his body into?" As he narrowed his eyes and thought, "I will mention that to the Sandame later. Then there is him. Could he really be Naruto?" Maelstrom is another name for Naruto, so that is not much of a code name, but I don't sense any of the Kyuubi chakra in him. As he sat back down as the 3 sound nins were taken away and waited for the rest of the test to end. "Strange, what was that just then and who used it?" he thought. "It felt like a replacement, but I don't see anyone in a different place than before him. So none of the proctors saw who it was either. Strange, there is only Leaf Ninja over there." He briefly felt a surge of chakra and looked to the side of the room where he detected it. He noticed that all 3 of the team assassin members were subtly looking in the same direction. Maelstrom looked over his shoulder, turned his head, and held up his hand as if he were yawning. He rapidly lowered all 5 fingers to one before clenching his fist. Ibiki's eyes narrowed as the proctors noticed this. He glanced at his desk for a moment, thinking, could he 51 or 15? Seat 51 is a rain nin on the left-right side of the room and number 15 is Yakushi Kabuto and he is over there by the chakra that was felt before him. A few minutes later Ibiki got up and said, "All right. Pencils down, it is time for the 10th question now. Before I get to that question, there are some new rules that are in effect. If you chose to take the 10th question and get it right, then you pass. However, if you chose to take it and get it wrong, then your score will reach 0 and you and your entire team will fail the test and none of you will ever be allowed to take the test again." There were murmurs, and Ibiki let out a small key while saying, "Silence." He continued, "Now as I was saying, if you do not feel you are ready to take the 10th question, then you are to raise your hand and your team will fail this test but be allowed to take it again next time. Now chose." He was staring around the room. Ibiki narrowed his eyes and said, "Number 51, Yakushi Kabuto, right?" As Kabuto slowly raised his hand. "Oh, how embarrassing," Kabuto said. "I suppose you know me by name because I failed this test so many times. I'm not a very skilled ninja. My sensei only encouraged us to take the tests, so I did as a medic nin. I don't particularly enjoy fighting, and I'm not entirely sure of my responses anyhow. I'm sorry, but before we started fighting, the 3 of us knew I would give up. I simply dislike fighting, and I'm aware that the next section will involve it." Maelstrom cupped one hand in a fist and placed the other in front of his face to rest his head on in a contemplative position as his teammates scowled, stood up, and left the room. When he noticed that everyone else in the room was perspiring and that some teams had left, Ibiki said, "Okay, anyone else?" He also noticed that Sakura was raising her hand, and to his surprise, Maelstrom slammed his fist into the desk in front of him, shocking the entire room. "Enough of your mind games," he said. "No one else will forfeit this opportunity. Only a weak coward would give up now and let their teammates down when they are counting on them, since they all came here to support one another. After all, people who desert their allies are worse than garbage." He just quoted Kakashi and I see, Smart, Ibiki thought, blinking. He needs the Uchiha to entice Orochimaru, and the Uchiha would fail if the girl left. He is extremely dangerous. By quoting the girl's sensei, he made her temporarily forget her doubt and made sure his bait remained in place. He is skilled at using people around him to achieve his goals. After the tests, I will need to speak with the Sandame and Shukaku about this League of Shadows. He knew how to make me fail Team 8, and he knew how to control the Hokage by having Team 8 go see Shukaku, who would then rush to the Hokage and give me the order to pull the other team. If only 3 of them are capable of doing this, and based on Shukaku's statements, there are probably many more, then they are an extremely dangerous foe. What's even more dangerous is that nobody outside of a small group of people is aware of them. Several people screamed in shock as he said, "Well, for those of you who remain, you pass." The idea of what they could do to win Itachi and Tsunade over and have the land of water in their debt is devastating. He started to explain when he noticed Maelstrom writing something on his paper. At that point, Anko burst through the window and yelled, "Don't get comfortable, kids. You're losing your touch. Ibiki, my name is Anko Midarashi, and I will be proctoring the second exams for 36 teams." "No," Ibiki replied, "but this time we have a really dangerous group. Come see me once you've got the kids going. We have a genin with lost lips who is acquainted with Orochimaru." Anko rubbed her shoulder as if she had a stiff muscle and said, "Whatever, all of you meet me at training ground 44 in an hour." Her eyes widening as her entire demeanor briefly changed. "Anyone not there by then fails," she said, giving Ibiki a quick glance before hustling away. Ibiki went over to Maelstrom's paper as everyone was getting up and starting to leave. He read what was written there, and the only thing he wrote was the word. Anko was eating a stick of dango outside training area 44 when her watch beeped. She said, "All right, Mag, I have things to do, so I will make this short and sweet. You have 5 days to make it to the tower in the center of training ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Each team will be given a scroll of either heaven or earth. You have to have both scrolls when you get to the tower. You also have to have your entire team to pass. If your team doesn't make it with both scrolls to the tower within the next 5 days, then you fail. Now let me give you these to use so I nor Konoha will be held accountable for what happens to you." She pulled out a pack of condoms and blinked, as shocked as everyone else. Maelstrom responded, "So like the last test, there is another way. In the last test we either had to be extremely smart or cheat, and in this test we have to be really good fighters, or we have our female members offer trade for scrolls. Maybe I might order get a few extra scrolls for that kind of trade." Several people were snickering and flushed with embarrassment as Anko glared at Maelstrom. Anko replied, "No, I meant to pull out release forms." With his team's release forms in front of him, Maelstrom said, "Oh, you mean these? I already filled out our teams, but if you're interested in using those since you carry them on you, then I have time." Anko replied, "You don't want to play that game with me, kiddo." Sub-Zero replied, "Actually, you don't want to play that game with him. Trust me, I'm still sore from the last time he bottomed out in me trying to get it all in." While some were too shocked and bashful to speak, others had drops of blood streaming down their faces and were observing Maelstrom with curiosity. "I like you 3, Anko said with a snort. "Where are the remaining release forms, then?" With a bored voice, Scorpion said, "In everyone's weapon pouches." Everyone in the vicinity widened their eyes and verified that the release forms were in their weapon pouches. Anko thought, "It's unbelievable that they would not only pull that kind of switch with me but also place them in everyone's weapon pouches without anyone noticing. What village are those 3 with?" And asked, "What village are you 3 with?" without seeing a hit. "We're not with any ninja village," Maelstrom stated. "We are independent contractors here to promote ourselves to other villages and to potentially secure employment." Anko responds with a nod. "I'm surprised the Sandame didn't try to recruit you 3 with the skills I've seen so far." "Oh," Maelstrom said, "Heated Konoha doesn't appeal to me. I would demolish it, urinate on the ashes, and establish a pig farm atop the remains if I had my way. Regretfully, I cannot control it because Konoha is too important to the economies and military might of the majority of the surrounding nations, including Suna. Given how their feudal lords have been selling them out to Konoha over the past few years, I am aware that if I were Suna, I would be prepared to form an alliance with another nation in order to destroy Konoha. However, if Suna did that, they would be sufficiently weakened for the Iwa to arrive and destroy them, as they despise Suna nearly as much as they despise Konoha. I was either a bad Kazekage or a fake if I was their Kazekage, and I never told my people about those threats to allay their feelings. But if I were Kazekage, that is, the Kazekage must have faith in Konoha because he sent all 3 of his children. In my opinion, that makes him an even greater idiot. Could we please take this fucking test now? I have people to kill and women to screw." Anko remarked, "For someone who's trying to advertise himself, you sure have a way of pissing off some of your potential customers, as a number of people stared at him as if he were crazy. Not really, Maelstrom said with a shrug, like I did when I was last in this village. I'm sure you've seen the dark side of Konoha. I am aware of the true motivation behind Konoha's May 22nd Spring Festival, which makes Anko wince and a few others appear intrigued. Ino responded, what the hell are you talking about? You're a mind reader, Maelstrom said, glancing at her. Find a happy-looking adult and put yourself in his shoes for the upcoming Spring Festival. When you discover the truth, try to maintain the same perspective on your parents, friends, and family. That is sufficient, Anko declared as she let loose a tremendous amount of ki. She said, turn in your forms and get to your gates now. Before proceeding to Gate 7, the team assassin turned in their paper and received a scroll, but the majority of genin appeared to be unaffected. As everyone watched them go, some people gave them amused looks, while others were shocked or disgusted. Why couldn't I move or even speak a few moments ago? Anko asked himself as he watched them leave. I had the impression that someone was covering my mouth and preventing me from speaking. They passed the tree line 50 feet away when Team Assassin arrived at their gate and a Chunin was standing there. Scorpion said softly, you know that was risky back there, Maelstrom. You could have alerted more people if you had used that jutsu on her. In a quiet voice, Maelstrom stated, I wasn't concerned. The Cage children will now speak with their sensei after I planted doubt in their minds. According to our spies, he was involved in the last Great War, so he should be hesitant to inform their council about a potential Cage impersonation and their own reservations. As I mentioned, Konoha is currently too valuable since Zabuza already has the Mist Outpost built in Wave. Wave will have the economy to replace Konoha in about 2 years, and the Mist will have the military capability to do the same. To provide Konoha with the necessary cleansing fire, Nami will be required. Clients will no longer view it as the Bloody Mist after we explain in our speech how we killed the Mizukage and overthrew the local political elite. Other villages will then attempt to establish political and commercial ties with them in an effort to strengthen themselves. All we have to do is make sure that some people don't block out the mist while it is visible. According to Sub-Zero, are you both ready? Scorpion remarked, I'm concerned that my spy may be compromised. The extent of his compromised state could blow up in our faces. I understand. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. If we can kill our target, we can go back to hiding, Maelstrom said. Otherwise, it will be necessary to fill a more active role to make sure the target doesn't get what he wants and to protect our other operations. Over loudspeakers, the other two nod, and Anko's voice yells, Begin. The gates were swung open, and to the Chunin Scorpion's surprise, Sub-Zero exploded into a pile of water. Maelstrom rose in smoke, and the Scorpion turned into a pile of sand. Sasuke led Team 7 as they dashed into the Forest of Death at the sound of the alarm. They had been on the ground for about 30 minutes when they heard something flying through the air. The three of them searched for it, but before they could react, smoke bombs struck the ground between them, knocking them out from behind. The three assassins were seen standing over a member once the smoke cleared, and each one extracted a needle, inserted it into the member's arms, and extracted a few drops of blood. Sub-Zero, you know what to do, Maelstrom said, passing her the scroll he had. Sub-Zero grabbed the scroll, and as she stepped into one of the 3 ice mirrors that had formed beneath Team 7's forms, they fell into them. As the 3 Genin's forms collapsed to the ground, she emerged inside the tower, took the scroll out of Sasuke's weapon pouch, and thought, stupid people with them, we were never outside the forest. Clones or what those were. As she opened both scrolls and tossed them to the ground, she said, we were inside the forest watching the entire time, and we switched scrolls with another team to get the scroll you needed to pass. Sub-Zero declared, package delivery undamaged, as Kakashi emerged in a puff of smoke. Pardon me now, she said as she entered an ice mirror and vanished. Each of them was taken out with a pressure point hit from behind, Kakashi thought as he swiftly assessed his students. Even Sai, he said as he assembled his team in their room and produced a few Kage Bunshin. When Sub-Zero got back to where she left off, she noticed that Maelstrom had transformed into Sasuke and Scorpion to look like Sai. She took out the needle she had used to draw some Sakura blood earlier, made a few quick hand gestures, and said, Doppelganger henge, as she pretended to be Sakura. Let's proceed, Sasuke said as he started to move through the forest. Sai uttered the words, whatever Dickless. As Sakura positioned herself behind Sasuke and in front of Sai, she exclaimed, Oh Sasuke-kun, my hero. After leaving his team in their room with his Kage Bunshin, Kakashi showed up in the Hokage office and declared, my team is already inside the tower. Sir, that team seems to have knocked them out and taken them there. Other than being knocked out by a pressure point hit from behind, I couldn't think of anything wrong with them. They don't seem to be in any danger, but I did notice an odd chakra signature on each of their arms, though I was unable to identify it. I see, said the third. Go back to your team and don't abandon them until the tests are over. Do you wish to still unmask Maelstrom? Inquired Kakashi. After a few moments of silence, the third said, yes. Kakashi's eyes widen as he says, I wish to see Minato-san one last time. Kakashi exclaimed in disbelief, it can't be. That is who he claims to be, the third said, passing him the notes he had previously received. I have mixed feelings about whether or not that is who he is. Revealing him is the only way to be certain. I understand, sir, Kakashi said. I'd better return to my group if that's all. Kakashi shushined away in thought as the third nodded. When Sakura noticed Sai was already awake and Sasuke in the restroom a few hours after the actual Team 7 awoke in their rooms, she inquired, what happened and how did we get here? This pervert wouldn't tell us anything until we were all awake, Sai said. Dick less, ugly awake. As Sasuke returned to the room and Kakashi put his book away, Sakura gave Sai a glare. Now that you three are awake, I can explain what happened, he said. That team I told you about attacked you three, knocked you all unconscious, took you to the tower, and summoned me using a set of test-related scrolls. The person who brought you here departed to rejoin her team when I showed up. Your team advances to the next section of the test because it was never anticipated that this would happen, so it is not against the rules. However, for security reasons, Sandame has asked me to remain with you until this section of the test is finished, so we won't be leaving this room. We have everything we need, including food, which I have already arranged to be delivered here, so that's what we're supposed to do. Do all three of you comprehend? Sai was staring at the mirror behind Kakashi as he stood there speaking to them. Keeping his hands behind his back, he read the message Kakashi had signed to him and thought, so I am to unmask Maelstrom at any cost? Sai responded, I understand. His teammates both concurred as Team 7 feet started to camp out by a small stream in the forest. A powerful wind gust swept through the area. All three had anchored themselves to the ground using chakra as the wind subsided. As a group of grass ninjas stood there, the one in the center with the straw hat exclaimed, My, she licked her lips and added, or not, considering that you three thought that you could come here to kill me assassins. It is surprising that all three of you managed to escape that attack. She then reached up, pulled her face away, and showed off Orochimaru. What are you talking about? Are you here for our scroll? Sasuke scowled. Please don't think I'm a fool, Orochimaru said. You were already identified by the girl there. According to her records, she does not have the reserves to use chakra to stay in place for that long because climbing a tree wears her out, but she seems unaffected by the attack, which lasted more than a minute. Sakura bit her lip, and Sasuke said, Orochimaru, it doesn't matter. While snapping his fingers, Maelstrom was standing there, covered in smoke, and he said, you have exposed yourself, and that was all these disguises were supposed to get you to do anyway. Orochimaru snapped his fingers and said, since we are revealing things, why don't I reveal some more myself? The sound team and both of Kabuto's teammates then appeared around the three assassins, with Kabuto appearing next to Orochimaru. The other grass nins were covered in smoke, and four figures appeared. They immediately took up position in a square around the three assassins and their 5 genin enemies, making hand signals and uttering the phrase, 4 violet flame encampment. A purple barrier formed around the 8 inside the cube. Maelstrom responded, so you were expecting us? I see. I take it Kabuto there was the one who informed you. Yes, Kabuto replied. I was freed from the puppet controlling jutsu that Orochimaru had me on, and I always told him about everything whenever he contacted me. After giving Scorpion a quick glance, Maelstrom inquired, how much of a threat level on information is he? Scorpion declared, he is only a 2. He only knew we were coming because I asked him about the teams he had attending these tests so I could better understand the risks to us. No matter, Maelstrom said. You can take care of him since he is still useless to us. I'm sure you can manage these 8, Sub-Zero. The answer was, yes. Maelstrom, when his shadow beneath him changed into a circle and he fell through it, Maelstrom said, good, shall we? Only years of experience told Orochimaru that someone was beneath him, and he jumped back, wide-eyed. When Scorpion fell into the sand inside the barrier, everyone else was wide-eyed, and Kabuto went to attack Maelstrom from behind. A shout from the forest said, get over here. A chain with a kunai tip shot out of the forest and through Kabuto's stomach, turning the sides of the kunai into an X. He was jerked backwards into the forest when the chain and kunai retracted. Sub-Zero said, shall we? She spread her feet apart and held her hands close to one another as water from the river condensed between them. She then moved her hands around it, turning it into a ball of ice, and used chakra strings to propel it forward. A dosu, who raised his melody arm and struck it as the sound waves erupted from the device, shattering the ice ball. It transformed into thousands of senbon needles that flew in all directions, killing Zaku and Kin, who were on either side of the main blast. Sub-Zero appeared behind Dosu before he could react, holding a kunai, and she slashed it against his neck, killing him by slicing it. Now that 3 of her 5 enemies have been killed, she noticed the shocked expressions on their faces and started to make one-hand signals. However, Masumi stretches out his arms to try to attack Sub-Zero with a kunai, and as the kunai enters her heart, her body transforms into an ice replica as she appears behind it. She said, "Ice style. Doppelganger," which shows her holding the one-hand seal while her other hand completes the other set, and she said, "Ice. Devour." The ice from the ice doppelganger swiftly glides across Masumi's arm, races up to his shoulder, and across his chest until it reaches his heart, where he screams in agony before his heart freezes solid before he dies. The Sound 4 were now frowning as they watched, and Yuri remarked, "Nice trick, bitch, but that won't work on me." Sub-Zero replied, "I know, you have the ability to absorb chakra from a person by touching them. Just because Kabuto was found did not mean that we do not have other spies in Orochimaru operations who would relay information on you in the Sound 5, Sub-Zero said as Yuri's eyes widened. She observed the response to the sound of the nins holding the barrier and said, "Tell me, how is Kimimaro's death going? It's still progressing uncured." Tayuya replied, "We need to drop this barrier and kill the bitch." "No, Tayuya," Kidumaru said. "She is currently wasting her chakra fighting them, which makes her weaker and more easily defeated. Additionally, we must prevent her from joining the others until Orochimaru-sama and Kabuto-san have eliminated them. She must be their team doctor based on what Kabuto overheard during the examinations." A voice said, "Ice style. Demonic ice igloo mirror." As ice walls made of 10-foot tall ice mirrors that resembled bricks formed a 100-foot tall dome of ice around the purple barrier, the Sound 5 and Yuri, who was trapped alone inside the purple barrier, were surrounded by a puddle of water, and Sub-Zero said, "That is true, but tell me, who is actually holding who here?" As she formed senbon needles in her hand and started to unleash them on the ninjas below, she said, "Now where were we?" As Sub-Zero's body materialized in each brick. In an attempt to avoid the sound, Jirubu immediately dropped the jutsu and used an earth jutsu to create a protective dome. Once inside the dome, Jirubu used another jutsu to have boulders form from the ground outside the dome and throw at the ice, breaking it every time it cracked a little. Yuri started to avoid hurling senbons, shurikens, and kunai at each mirror, but a senbon killed him after entering his temple. Tayuya took out her flute and called forth her 3 doki, using one to cover her while the other 2 started beating into the ice, one with a club and the other with its fist. Kidumaru swiftly went to level 2 curse seal as Yuri's body hit the ground, transforming into a spider-like creature and attempting to use his newfound agility and speed to escape the ice dome. When Sub-Zero saw this, she stopped moving out of the mirrors and throwing senbons, made hand seals, and uttered the words, "Hidden Mist no Jutsu." The battlefield was completely covered in a dense mist. Sub-Zero thought, "Earth style. Headhunter Jutsu," as she sank into the ground after exiting her mirror and going through a few hand signals. She swiftly moved beneath the dome, opened a tiny gadget, pressed a button, and a 2-minute timer appeared. She then swiftly departed using the same jutsu, leaving the gadget behind. She felt something enter her body as soon as she got off the ground, and when she looked at her side and saw a head emerge, she thought, "Shit, I forgot that he can enter people's bodies." She knew that the mist was almost gone now, and she was about to jump back into her mirror. "Look what we have here, brother. Yukon said we underestimated the bitch's toughness. You can all come and pick her up. Her body is now under my control." Sub-Zero closed her eyes as an explosion shook the area, sending earth flying in all directions, and she saw the other members of Sound 4 approaching her while beeping. She also noticed that the watch on her arm had 3 seconds remaining. The blast struck Kidumaru and Jirubu from behind. Yukon screamed and rushed out of Sub-Zero's body as she was about to jump back into the ice dome when one of the doki, brandishing a club, struck her, sending her flying out of the dome and shattering it. Sub-Zero took advantage of the distraction to stab herself in the side. Sub-Zero watched the 2 brothers and Tayuya as the ice dome fell, thinking, "Shit, feels like I got a couple of broke ribs and my arm has a fracture." She cradled her right arm and heard the other 2 members of Sound 4 scream, thinking, "Not good, I thought they were dead." The 2 other members of the Sound 4 were unable to avoid the explosion as the senbons filled their bodies, killing them permanently. "Have to remedy that," she said, pulling out a red and yellow ball and throwing it in the air away from her toward the Sound nins. Tayuya and the brothers who had merged back together quickly jumped away, not sure what that was. Fortunately, the ball exploded and 10,000 senbon needles flew out of the ball toward the ground in all directions. Sub-Zero was attacked by the doki as they arrived at her location, but she was thrown into a pool of water. Tayuya immediately resumed playing her flute. When Tayuya saw this, A kunai pierced her back before she could react. Sub-Zero, panting behind her, turned to look for the two brothers when she heard something behind her and had to dodge as they tried to tag team her. She threw a kunai at one of them while she jumped back, then pulled out another kunai and threw it and jumped back again, doing this repeatedly as she formed a circle. She then threw another at Saken, forcing him to jump back into the circle, and as she did so, she started making one-handed signs and exclaiming, "Fuinjutsu! Ice prison!" A wall of ice formed around Saken, and she quickly sealed him inside as a wall of ice quickly formed. As he started to harm her body with his cells, Yukon jumped back into her body and yelled, "I won't let you this time." He then screamed in agony and ran out of her body, hitting the ground and yelling, "Saken," growing increasingly desperate before passing away a short while later. When Saken saw the walls forming inside the ice prison, he attempted to escape, but the walls continued to enlarge and enclose him until they crushed his body. Another figure landed on the ground nearby, and Sub-Zero collapsed to the ground in agony and exhaustion. She instantly created an ice mirror beneath herself and vanished as soon as she saw who it was. The chain and kunai came out of Kabuto's body as he was flying backwards with a stomach wound earlier, and he saw Scorpion standing there as he flew past and into a tree. According to Scorpion, "Hello Kabuto, remember me?" According to Kabuto, "No, why should I?" Scorpion stated, "Puppetry is such an interesting development. You can become basically immortal by replacing your old body with a new one." "Sasori, you're Sasori." Kabuto scowled for a moment as a tiny part of him became frightened. As he launched a series of shurikens at Kabuto, Scorpion remarked, "I was partners with Orochimaru in Akatsuki 5 years ago, but things change. I know you helped to rule the world and you are not needed in our world any longer." Kabuto took a log in place of himself, hid behind a tree, and started using chakra to treat his wounds in front of him. A tiny snake scuttled across the ground. Kabuto gave it a quick look and was about to brush it off when the snake lunged at him before it died. A poison mist sprayed into Kabuto's face from the snake's mouth as he grabbed it by the back of the head and squeezed it hard to kill it. Kabuto coughed as he inhaled the poison and hurried to another spot to try to get rid of it while focusing his own chakra to complete repairing the harm caused by the kunai. Scorpion thought, "Now let's see you heal yourself Kabuto. That poison is designed to screw up chakra control, and without it your precious self-healing jutsu will not work as well and cost you twice the amount of chakra it should until you get the poison out of your system." Scorpion grabbed the snake as he was shifting his location. The last of the poison had been expelled from Kabuto, who was panting and thinking, "So that's his game. He's waging a war of attrition against me by making me use my chakra to heal myself. He could have attacked me at any time, but he hasn't." He emerged from behind the tree he was hiding behind. While perched on a branch, Scorpion remarked, "So you finally realized the truth. I was expecting you to realize it several minutes ago. Running away won't do you any good against me." Quickly drawing a kunai, Kabuto uttered, "Then I will have to fight you Sasori." As Scorpion raised his left hand and the chained kunai materialized in his palm, he said, "The name's Scorpion's now Kabuto, remember it?" Kabuto heard Scorpion yell, "Get over here." As the chained kunai approached him, Kabuto sidestepped, but as he did so, he saw that the chain was laced with chakra. It circled a tree and came at him once more from behind. He had to roll away and swap himself out for another log because the kunai tip had sunk into the log and stopped. Scorpion scowled as he started to pull the chain back, and Kabuto used that opportunity to leap at him and slam his kunai into a chain link before the chain was pulled back and jammed. Scorpion was going to take the kunai away when Kabuto, whose hands were now green, had to block the blow with his left arm because the chakra scalpels pierced the arm and destroyed it. Scorpion said, "Do you have any idea how long it takes to replace that arm?" After leaping back and spotting the remnants of his left arm in a tree. Kabuto stated, "You won't need to replace it as you will be dead. Some part of you still has to be human in order to use chakra, and I suspect it is your heart since it is the source of all chakra in the body. All I have to do is destroy it to destroy you." Scorpion positioned his right arm in front of him and said, "Only my master is able to destroy my heart Kabuto, but you can try if you dare." Flames shot out of the right hand at Kabuto, catching his pant leg before he could fully escape. As 3 senbon needles struck where he had been a moment earlier, Kabuto struck the ground, rapidly rolled multiple times, extinguishing the flames, and leapt away. As he jumped away, Scorpion exploded out of the ground beneath him, his blade now protruding from the stump where his left shoulder should have been. He glanced around the clearing, thinking, "Where did he go? I lost him when I rolled and then jumped back to get away from the shit." Kabuto replied, "You're sure full of surprises. Flamethrowers in your right hand, chain kunais in your left, sword in your left shoulder." As he reached up with his right hand and grabbed his face mask, revealing a human skull, Sasori said, "Flattery will get you nowhere." There were actually 200 different weapons in the left arm alone. Kabuto, my master, has shown me skills that make what all of Suna knows about puppet mastery look like a kid with a simple stick floating in the air. You should feel honored to see this attack before you die, Kabuto. He opened his mouth as blue gas started to spread across the ground and down his body in all directions, and the eyes in the skull soon caught fire. The entire skull caught fire, and when it struck the gas, an explosion shook the whole area, sending a 400-foot-tall fireball skyward and setting the forest on fire. Kabuto's eyes widened as he realized what was about to happen. As Kabuto, who was on the ground with burns on more than half of his body, saw Scorpion's fully charred form approaching him, he thought, the flames are not even harming his body. Amazing. As Scorpion began to lower his blade to kill Kabuto, a bone sword passed through Scorpion's back and out of his stomach. Scorpion turned to face the man behind him and remarked, "You should be in sound." Then the bone sword reappeared, slicing off Scorpion's head and arm before separating his body from the waist down. "Are you all right, Kabuto-san?" the figure inquired. "Yes, Kimimaro, is everything taken care of?" Kabuto replied. Kimimaro replied, "Yes, I killed the 2 teams of Anbu who were watching the sound genins before they were interrogated and brought them here as ordered. I then hid nearby and waited. The 3 genins along with your teammates are dead, as are the sound 4, but they were Sakin and Yukon's special ability severely wounded her before she escaped when I went to kill her." Kabuto looks at him and says, "Destroy his body. It will take me a few minutes to recover from that attack. After you destroy his body, go aid Orochimaru-sama. I will join you shortly." As the bones emerged from the ground in a 20-foot circle and speared each piece of the scorpion body, Kimimaro coughed and started to make hand signals. He placed his hands on the ground and uttered the words, "Bone Graveyard no Jutsu." After finishing that, he turned and headed in the direction of the fighting Orochimaru was causing. After witnessing the destruction of the scorpion's body, Kabuto exclaimed, "Not even your heart could survive that, Sasori." He was overcome by chakra fatigue. The remains of Scorpion's left arm started to creep toward the bone graveyard from outside. After 10 minutes, a foot-wide black metal ball was thrown out of the graveyard after it had pulled itself into it. When the arm returned from the cemetery, it headed for the ball. When it reached the ball, a compartment opened from the side of the arm, revealing a fist-sized red and black ball. A tiny puff of smoke emerged as it hit the ground, revealing an incomplete puppet body without arms or legs. The hand opened the chest, took the black ball, and put it inside the chest before closing it. "Damn it, Maelstrom's going to be pissed. This was a clusterfuck and I am nearly out of chakra." The body responded as it lay there, saying, "Kimimaro was in sound last night. What was he doing here?" Maelstrom and Orochimaru. Earlier, when Orochimaru was forced to leap back, Maelstrom drew a sword from his back, which was hung upside down to hide it. He tried to cut Orochimaru from groin to neck, but Orochimaru rolled away and quickly called for the grass cutter. Orochimaru scowled as the 2 blades collided. Realizing that he was not that much stronger than the opponent, Orochimaru sprang back and hurled snakes from his sleeves. Maelstrom threw a gold ball at the snakes, which exploded, revealing 3 spinning blades that cut through them and proceeded toward Orochimaru, who leapt away. Orochimaru was startled when the blades attempted to attack him from behind and circled around. When he saw the blades flying across the clearing, he leapt into a tree and exclaimed, "Impressive assassin, tell me, what are those?" Maelstrom quickly glanced around and replied, "You know, movies are not as good as they once were. A long time ago there were movies that had so much violence, death and destruction you had to be at least 18 years old to see them. In those movies they always come up with these wonderful toys. Since my grandfather didn't train me when we had long sea trips allowing me to enjoy my youth that I was denied in my home village, I was allowed to watch these movies that he kept for sentimental value. I watched these movies and got all kinds of ideas for the devices they used. These are just one of them, and I call these seekers. They are chakra powered and a simple computer program that allows them to navigate around any obstacle toward the first chakra signature they are thrown at until they run out of chakra or..." As he listened to Maelstrom, Orochimaru, who was keeping an eye on the gadgets flying around, realized he had lost one of them. He rolled to the side as it passed over where he had been just a moment before and came up behind him. As he charged toward Orochimaru, who deflected Maelstrom's sword and was cut on the side by the onlooker, Maelstrom said, "Yes, you have not only me to worry about, but they won't attack me though. Now let's dance." Orochimaru believed, "Those things are dangerous, I have to avoid them." Feeling the sting, Orochimaru scowled and uttered the words, "Poison tip." When Orochimaru attempted to attack him, Maelstrom kicked him, causing him to turn to mud and roll to the side. When Maelstrom went on the defensive, 3 seekers attacked him. He replaced himself with a log, which destroyed 1 seeker but spared the other 2. When Maelstrom saw this, he produced a white ball and threw it at Orochimaru. Orochimaru, not wanting any more surprises, replaced himself when it exploded. When he reappeared, he glanced at the spot where the ball exploded and was momentarily perplexed before he noticed something. He then turned to face Maelstrom in disbelief and exclaimed, "How?" Then Maelstrom said, How is it that you have access to the chakra of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and how is it that you turned it into a weapon?" Orochimaru asked, his eyes narrowing. With a laugh, Maelstrom remarked, "Orochimaru, it seems you have gone insane." The shock made Orochimaru forget about the Seekers, and one of them severed his left arm entirely. Orochimaru remarked, "Do not try me, boy. I have experimented with that chakra before, so I know the feel of it, and it is quite unique." As he shed his skin, he remembered them and opened his mouth quickly, allowing another Orochimaru to emerge unharmed. As he sheathed his blade and started going through hand seals, Maelstrom thought, "Okay, that was impressive and we had no data on it. Looks like I will have to take it up a notch." He exhaled a ball of fire and exclaimed, "Great fireball jutsu." A seeker was already there when Orochimaru replaced himself, so he shifted his head to the side, cutting his cheek and losing some of his hair as the seeker struck the tree and destroyed itself. As another white ball sped past his face and exploded, Orochimaru thought, "That only leaves one of those accursed things." Shit. However, this time, the Kyuubi chakra dealt damage to his body. In order to shed his skin, Orochimaru opens his mouth once more as his new body emerges. Maelstrom appears behind him and plunges his sword into his heart, or where he thought it would be. Red chakra covers the blade and starts to poison the body. The grass cutter that Orochimaru dropped to shed his skin stabs into Maelstrom's side as he screams in agony and makes motions with his fingers, forcing him to retreat. Before he extracts a tiny needle from his pant leg, stabs himself in the arm, and injects the contents of the needle into his body. Maelstrom extracts the blade and throws it to the ground. Orochimaru swiftly sheds his body once more, but his new body is also damaged. "It's no use, boy. The poison from the grass cutter has no cure," Orochimaru remarked upon seeing this. Maelstrom laughs and continues, "Wrong. Tsunade, who had a sample for years, now created one, and she taught Sub-Zero, who made hundreds of shots worth of the cure that last for 24 hours after being stabbed. So you can stab me with that sword all you want and the poison won't harm me anymore. My sword, on the other hand," omitting the final sentence. "Yes, I am curious how you were able to use the Kyuubi chakra or even have it when the Jinchuriki died several years ago," Orochimaru said after assessing the damage to his body. Maelstrom struck Orochimaru, who was now moving more slowly, and he was receiving multiple wounds. The last seeker to remain approached from behind and stabbed Orochimaru in the back, causing him to scream. The surprise attack from behind also caused red chakra to start poisoning his body once more. When he saw the blood coming out of Kimimaro's mouth, he started coughing heavily and gasped, "Are you alright, Orochimaru-sama?" Maelstrom had to jump back as a figure attacked him. He narrowed his eyes and said, "I was under the impression you were too sick to be here, or is this a final run for you?" As he melted into the earth, Orochimaru, who was on his knees, said, "Yes, Kimimaro. Thank you. Please kill him, as I must go. Pray we never meet again, boy, or I will kill you." Maelstrom turned to face Kimimaro as he attempted to kill Naruto with his bone sword. Before he began to defend himself, Maelstrom was continuously on the defensive for the next 15 minutes, which made him frustrated. As the battle went on, he witnessed Kimimaro's condition deteriorating as he applied the level 1 curse seal. Maelstrom quickly forced the weakened man to retreat, and when Kimimaro attempted to apply the level 2 curse seal, his body seized and collapsed to the ground. When the fight came to an end, Maelstrom cut the man's head off while he was still down and said, "Goodbye." He scowled at the man, coughed up blood, and collapsed to his knees before fainting next to the headless man. It was early in the morning when he woke up, and he felt very stiff. He got up and asked himself, "How long was I out?" As he gathered his weapons from the vicinity after seeing the dead bodies of the Sound 4 and the other 5 genin in the clearing where the fighting began, he turned to return to the location where he had last seen Scorpion capturing Kabuto. He thought, "Haku killed them all, but where is she and where is Scorpion?" He exclaimed, "What the hell happened to you?" upon seeing Scorpion in his backup body in the destroyed clearing. Scorpion stated, "Kimimaro attacked me when I was preparing to finish off Kabuto. My other body was destroyed completely with the exception of my heart and hand there. Where have you been? It's been 5 days, and where's Sub-Zero?" As his eyes widened, Maelstrom questioned, "Are you sure?" 4 nights have passed, so yeah," Scorpion said. Maelstrom sighed and replied, "Damn, how did this happen? I thought Orochimaru and Kimimaro attacked me as well when I was preparing to kill him. Where is Sub-Zero? She should have been back by now." According to Scorpion, "You don't think?" "No, she eliminated all of the Sound 4 and the genins in the barrier. You can be moved," Maelstrom said. Scorpion responded, "Yeah, Maelstrom bit his thumb and wiped the blood on a seal on his neck after picking up Scorpion's body and slinging it over his shoulder. In a flash of yellow, both vanished upon their arrival. They discovered themselves in a clearing where Sub-Zero was leaning against a tree and hurling Scorpion to the ground. The man yelled at her, scowled, and uttered the words, "Shit. She's burning up. Can you help her in any way, Scorpion?" Scorpion stated, "I use this body as a substitute chassis for my primary body. You are carrying the scroll along with my other bodies." Looking around the clearing, Maelstrom noticed the bodies of a Konoha team and a Rain team. Upon noticing the Senbon needles inside, he remarked, "Looks like she took them out. Check to see if they have the scrolls." Scorpion said, "If so, you can accompany me to the tower so they can examine her while you assist me in trading to a different body." As he swiftly scanned the teams and discovered a matching set along with an extra Earth scroll, Maelstrom scowled and said, "Fine." While the clone grabbed Scorpion and sped toward the tower, he picked up Sub-Zero's bridal style to create a cage bunshin. As Maelstrom and his clone carried his team down the hallway to the end and turned toward where chakra signatures were, Team Assassin arrived in the tower an hour later without even opening the scrolls. They ran to the doors in the back and kicked the doors off the hinge. As he started to exit onto the balcony to survey the teams that had passed, the third Hokage was about to conclude the second section of the exams. He scowled for a moment and asked, "Where is that team?" As Naruto and Haku used one door as a surfboard and the clone and Scorpion another, the doors at the back of the room blew off the hinge, and I was certain that they would make. The third person asked, "What's the meaning of this?" as they stopped. With a scowl, Maelstrom sat Sub-Zero down and handed him a scroll. His clone opened it and placed it next to Scorpion's body. The real Maelstrom then said, "I need a medic for one of my teammates." After scowling, the third said, "Anko, signal a medic." With a nod, Maelstrom turned to face his clone and remarked, "Watch her while I help Scorpion." As his body lay on the ground with a scroll next to it that had been unrolled to reveal thousands of seals and kanji, Scorpion remarked, "A little high-strung, aren't you?" With a scowl, Maelstrom questioned Scorpion, "Which body do you want?" After a brief scowl, Scorpion said, "Give me number 17 and a smokescreen." To conceal his actions, Maelstrom threw a few smoke bombs on the ground. Then, he opened the chest compartment of Scorpion's current body and removed a black ball. He placed the ball on the scroll in the middle, where a circle was drawn, and wiped blood on the kanji for 17. The black ball and the circle it was on glowed. A few seconds later, a puff of smoke appeared, and Scorpion stood in his black and gold uniform with a face mask, just as he had looked before the exams started. Scorpion said, "Damn, this body is slow," and shifted his head, arms, and legs. "I think my skills as a puppet master are just getting started to regain my full strength. I need to slightly strengthen the muscles in it." "What the hell just happened?" Sakura exclaimed. "His body was totally destroyed just a moment ago, but he is now fully recovered." "I am a human puppet master girl," Scorpion declared. "As a result, I am essentially immortal because I can easily transform into a different body if my current one is destroyed. What are the orders, then?" Scorpion, "Watch the medics," said Maelstrom, who was now observing the medics as they started to treat Sub-Zero. "Ensure that no samples of her body are taken or her face mask removed. Withdraw from the tests and transport her to Ravens as soon as possible. Wait until she is safely there before leaving her side. I want you to find that four-eyed monster and bring me his head on a silver platter after that." The Scorpion said, "How about you? Raz Al Ghul gave you instructions to always have at least 2 bodyguards." "Contact Clay's face and Two's face," Maelstrom said, closing his eyes. "They're welcome to observe me, and they will serve as my bodyguards until you and Sub-Zero are fully recovered." Scorpion asks, "What are you going to do until then?" as he nods and heads out. "Oh," Maelstrom said, "that will depend on the Hokage. Were we able to arrive in time for the tests? Even though we were injured, all 3 of us are still alive, and I have 3 scrolls, so 1 matching set and an extra," he said, taking the 3 from beneath his cloak. "Yes, you just barely made it." The third person said, "You would fail in another 2 minutes. I take it that only you will continue after this, and both of your teammates are eliminated from the competition." According to Maelstrom, "Yes." The third scowled and remarked, "I see. Does anyone here wish to withdraw?" The Hokage started to explain why the exams were being held, but he was interrupted halfway through by a man brandishing a sword on his back. He coughed a few times and said, "I apologize for disturbing you, Hokage-sama, but I am afraid we still have too many competitors and need to have a preliminary round." Looking around the room, Maelstrom thought, "Me, the 3 snow ninjas, the 9 leaf genins, and the 3 sand sibs. There are only 16 fights." Following a nod, the Sandame said, "Very well, please proceed." "My name is Hyatt, and I will serve as the proctor for the semifinals." The man said, "We will reduce the number because we still have a lot of competitors. "Open it," was said as a wall slid open and the screen appeared, spinning through the names to reveal who would face whom. Sakura and Ino faced off in the first match. Hyatt responded, "If both competitors please remain, everyone else please go up to the balcony." Maelstrom was bored and thought, "These fights are nothing," so he turned and walked over to the sand team. He leaned against a wall and crossed his arms while watching the fights below. Is there anything these fools can truly destroy besides time? He saw Sakura and Ino tie. Sasuke defeat a snow nin, Tamari defeat a snow nin, Shikamaru give up to Neji, Choji defeat Tenten, Kankuro defeat a snow nin, and more as the fights went on. With just 4 remaining, the board flashed once more, and the next two Namesa Sai vs Leah shocked everyone. I see from everyone's reactions that they did not expect that fight, Maelstrom thought as the third scowled. Probably wanted me to go up against the root agent, but who changed the matchup is a mystery. After giving Lee a quick glance, Sai declared, "I forfeit. If his teammates are anything to go by, I won't be able to beat him." As Hayate put it, "Winner Lee," Hayate said, "would the last two competitors please step forward?" As Lee cast a downward glance. When they were 20 feet apart, Gaara said, "Mother says you are very strong and wishes to taste your blood." Maelstrom moved down one path, while Gaara followed the other. Maelstrom responded, "Do you know what the difference between you and me is, Gaara?" There was no response from Gaara, so Hayate said, "Begin." Kakashi and the Sandame both widened their eyes when Maelstrom remarked, "The difference is that I removed my demon." When Maelstrom threw a gold ball at Gaara, it exploded into 3 seekers, who started to fly at him but flew around it when his sand defense came up. Gaara's visibility is limited as the 3 seekers continue to raise their sand defense in an attempt to halt them, and Maelstrom leaps backwards as sand flies across the ground toward him. "Let's see how you like a taste of your own medicine." Maelstrom takes out another ball and hurls a white ball at Gaara. The Junin all go wide-eyed as they realize the chakra it released, and Gaara screams as his flesh begins to burn a little. In addition to seeing Gaara in pain, the Sand team was taken aback by Maelstrom's statement, "How do you like my little toys, Gaara? What you're feeling right now is only a sample of what I did to Orochimaru in the forest. You can handle the chakra of the Ichibi no Shukaku no problem since it has been in you since the day you were born. But you can't handle the chakra of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, can you?" Gaara was glaring at Maelstrom through the sand that the Seekers were still attacking. As the Kyuubi chakra vanished, he then moved his hand toward one of the Seekers and had his sand attack and destroy it before doing the same with the other 2. As this was going on, Maelstrom threw 2 green balls at the arena floor's corners and 2 more at the other 2 spots. A green shield rose around the arena floor as Hayate landed, leaving only Maelstrom and Gaara. He then pulled out a white ball and threw it at Hayate, who leapt away quickly, but the white ball never activated. Gaara said, "I will feed you to mother." He then threw his sand at Maelstrom once more, but this time it stopped as it approached him. Maelstrom's shadow sprang out and caught the sand, making Shikamaru and the others wide-eyed. According to Maelstrom, Kage Main no Jutsu success. "You know what, Gaara? I am going to do for you what was done for me. I am going to give you a new life." Gaara's sand struggled against Maelstrom, who reached behind him and took away his sword. His sword was covered in red chakra, and he turned it upside down before saying, "Meet Kyuubi." He slammed it into his shadow, which turned red and raced across to the sand that had been captured. In a terrified tone, Gaara questioned, "What have you done?" Maelstrom said, "To put it bluntly, I am overpowering the demon in you with the demon that is sealed in my sword. You see, like you, I used to be a Jinchuriki because my idiot father actually thought the people of his village would honor his last request and see his son as a hero for saving their lives, but the people of his village made my life hell on earth. Something I am sure you know as well, the way they look at you, whisper, look at you with those hated eyes. I still remember it, but then one day it was over. Someone important to me came and took me away from my pain and freed me from the burden of having that creature sealed in me. Now I know how everyone said that the only way to safely kill a demon is to seal it inside a human newborn, making it mortal, and as the child grows older they make the demon's chakra their own and all that bullshit they sprout out about, but the truth is they use human infants because human only speak human. They could seal it into a newborn dog or cat or anything that has new chakra coils. In fact, it's not that hard to even put chakra coils inside of weapons like swords and things like that by simply killing a new animal. In this case, the person who saved me took the chakra coils of a fox kit and put them in my sword and then simply extracted the demon and resealed it into my sword, and yes, I am sure they always will sprout off bullshit about how a sacrifice is needed. My father sacrificed his life to do me originally, and from what I hear your father ordered your mother, correct?" Gaara responded, "Yes." He pulled out a scroll, unrolled it, and said, "Let's see, acid, arsenic, aspirin, arctic ware, blood, bones, belts, kerosene. Ah, here we go, Kakuzu. Maelstrom said. Yeah. Monkey see monkey do. Well, I don't like the idea of making people suffer, so I am going to help you. He then bit his thumb and wiped some blood across a seal, and a man appeared, blinked, looked around, and said, "What the hell?" "Remember me?" said Maelstrom with a glance at Maelstrom. Kakuzu exclaimed, "Oh shit, not you again, what do you want?" Maelstrom continued, "Your life belongs to me, remember. I own you and you will do well to remember that. Now what I want you to do is perform 2 jutsu. The first is called the Shiki Fujin, to extract the demon Ichibi no Shukaku from the boy right there and seal it into a weapon for me. Now this will kill the boy, of course, and one of your hearts. The next jutsu I want you to use will kill another of your hearts, and as a medical kinjutsu that will trade the life of the heart you will sacrifice to bring the boy back to life. Do this and I will send you back to wherever the hell you were before I summoned you. Don't and I let the Anbu and the Hokage who are trying to get through my shield to kill you." And pointed at the men to break through the shield but through. It was Kakuzu who said, "Fine, master." Before he opens a pike, Maelstrom nods and opens 2 scrolls that explain how to use the 2 jutsu. When Gaara attempted to flee in terror, he was either unable to move or his sand defense failed. As they watched a missing nin use jutsu to extract the Ichibi from Gaara and then bring him back to life, the Hokage, the Suna team, the Junin, and 5 squads of Anbu listened to everything that was trying to enter the shield but were powerless to stop it. Following this, Kakuzu was allowed to return to his origins, and Maelstrom slowly read through his lengthy list before saying, "Ah, here we go, Raiden." As he applied more blood to a kanji, a woman appeared, soaking wet, with her hands in her shampooing hair. She blinked briefly and screamed, covering herself. "Sorry, Raiden," Maelstrom said. "What the hell are you doing summoning me?" Raiden yelled as he turned to face him. Tossing her a sword, Maelstrom said, "The Ichibi no Shukaku, by the way, Kakashi, here." Before Raiden could say anything, Maelstrom summoned her as her eyes widened and she looked up to where Maelstrom was looking. After that, Maelstrom picked up his scroll and sealed everything he had on him, including his sword that he had taken from the ground. He then made 200 hand signals, and the scroll vanished. After he sat down and placed his hands on his head, the shield surrounding the room fell, allowing Junin and the Anbu to rush in while the Suna team hurried to Gaara. When Tamari arrived at Gaara first, she checked him and said, "He's alive." Tears were streaming down her face. After checking on the boy, the Sandaime went to where Maelstrom had 10 Anbu holding him to the ground. The boy had not attempted to move at all, and after a few moments of staring at Maelstrom, he said, "Remove his mask and head wrap." Everyone gasped when Naruto, who had no whiskers and resembled the Yondaime Hokage exactly, appeared in a cat mask. "Long time no see, huh," said Naruto according to the third, "so it really is you, Naruto." Kakashi replied, "He looks just like Sensei, but how was Rin here a moment ago?" "Take him to Anbu headquarters and lock him up and put 5 squads of Anbu on him, and only I can get in to see him until I figure out what to do," the third said, scowling as Naruto remained silent. Before they were hushed away with Maelstrom, each Anbu member said, "HAI. What should we do, sir?" inquired Kakashi as he approached the Suna team. The third said, "Damage control for now, Sensei. Talk to your students and tell them the truth about what happened 14 years ago." He was addressing the stunned and perplexed Genin. "We have a lot to discuss. What do you think, Bucky?" the third person said. Looking at Tamari, who was holding Gaara, Bucky said, "I don't know, Hokage-sama. I will have to inform the Kazekage and let him decide what to do about this." Kankuro was standing a short distance away. The third individual replied, "Right, until you do I will have him held under Anbu guard." Naruto appeared out of the shadows and said, "By the way, Orochimaru has assassinated the Kazekage and his body is 10 miles southeast of your village. Baki bye." He vanished in a yellow flash, shocking everyone, a voice said, as if. This brought both men's attention to the side of the room where shadows were. In order to look exactly like the Yondaime, Naruto changed into a white cloak, black pants, a black shirt, and a black vest. He then left his hotel room and proceeded down the center of the village, ignoring the shocked looks and whispers that were being exchanged whenever someone attempted to stop him. He vanished into a yellow flash that appeared somewhere else in the village. When he arrived at the gates of Konoha an hour later, 2 Anbu teams and the guards told him, "You can't leave the village." "Really, watch me," Maelstrom said, vanishing once more in a flash of yellow light. When the Chunin exams preliminary round ended the following day, news of what had transpired began to circulate like wildfire. The yellow flash claimants had come back. There were rumors that Suna had betrayed Konoha and that the Kazekage had been assassinated. The Ichibi was killed, and the Kyuubi reappeared. A great shinobi war, spies, village attacks, and traitors. There was no end in sight to the rumors that were circulating. This is what the Sandaime Hokage encountered this morning when he entered his office following the search of the Forest of Death, which turned up the bodies of the Sound Nins, the missing Sound Nins who had been removed from Anbu custody, and the missing Kabuto and his teammates. Both Scorpion and Sub-Zero vanished from the hospital room where Sub-Zero had been brought. 3 Anbu squads and a group of grass genins were discovered dead. What is your goal, Naruto? Why try to be so secretive yet also give so much information, was the third thing that came to mind as he read the reports. When someone knocked on his office door, he said, "Enter." "Pardon me, sir, but the council would like to see you," a chunin said as he entered. The third scowled before leaving the office, saying, "Very well, I am on my way." A figure appeared from the floor after he had left, swiftly searched the office, located what he was looking for, then merged back with the floor and departed. "So what is it that you have called me here for?" the third Hokage asked as he entered the council chamber and sat down. "We would like to know the truth behind all the rumors that have been going around," Hiyashi said. First, Genin Team 8 was eliminated from the Chunin exams due to the possibility that an heir of one of the major clans might be kidnapped. Next, there is this team that you were so interested in that you would risk the Uchiha's security detail to confront them. Finally, there are rumors of a supposed infiltration of the village by another village, the death of our Anbu forces, the political nightmare of the Kazekage son, a Jinchuriki, having the demon inside him taken away and then brought back to life, and rumors that Suna betrayed us and that the Kazekage is gone. Everyone's attention was drawn to Danzo by a laugh, and he responded, "Oh, he's dead all right. His body was found a few hours ago by Suna Nins who were reacting to the report Baki sent them." With narrowed eyes, the third said, "And how do you know that, Danzo?" Everyone was tense as Danzo reached up to his face with both hands and said, "Simple. Danzo dead." He then took his hands off of him, and the Sandaime asked, "Who are you?" The man soon had kunais from multiple clan heads at his neck. "My codename is Clayface, but my real name is Deidara, a former Iwa Nin." The man stated, "I was dispatched to kill Danzo and to let you know what exactly is going on and why." Someone on the council said, "Kill him. You are truly a fool," Deidara said with a laugh. "I am composed entirely of clay, explosive clay enough to instantly level the whole village." With a chuckle on his face, he said, "Now we can either be civilized and talk about what's going to happen now, or I can just end it all." "Who sent you?" the third one asked. Scowling, Deidara replied, "I was sent by Raz Al Ghul and the League of Shadows." Pale, Shukaku uttered, "So he really has returned. He never left Nara-san." Deidara remarked, "Both the League of Shadows and Raz Al Ghul are eternal. Even though we might disappear into the background, we are never truly gone." As he observed Deidara still being held by multiple clan heads, the third person asked, "What is it you have to tell us?" According to Deidara, "First off, I think it's time you were quit being lied to. There are 3 stories about the Uchiha massacre that happened. You know 2 of them. One was made up for everyone, but you do know one was made up to fool you, and the last was the truth. What lies do you speak?" asked Hamaru. Everyone was shocked when a figure emerged from the earth behind Hamaru, grasped a kunai at his neck, and declared, "We speak no lies, we have proof." When he saw this, the third scowled and remarked, "Your 2 faces that Naruto spoke of." Deidara replied, "Naruto never heard of him. Our orders come from higher up in the chain of command, and yes, he's Two-Face, or as some know him as Zetsu of the Grass." In an attempt to understand why Anbu was not returning his call through the seal on his wrist, the third person asked, "What is it you were trying to say earlier? I wish to end this without bloodshed." Deidara replied, "The first story is that Itachi killed the Uchiha clan, leaving his brother as the only other survivor to test his skills. The second story after the actual attack happened is when Itachi, Hamaru, Kaharu, and Danzo came to your office and told you that they ordered Itachi to kill the Uchiha clan because they were planning a coup d'etat to kill the council and yourself. Do you deny either story?" Of course he would deny the second one. "That didn't happen," a civilian yelled. As he observed both of his former teammates' terrified expressions, the third said nothing. Deidara laughed and replied, "You're right, because when the Uchiha clan was being killed, Itachi was in the Uchiha prison being interrogated for his involvement in the death of Uchiha Shisho. Danzo and his 2 partners Kaharu and Hamaru ordered Root to kill them all, and when they got to Itachi they told him that they would only let his brother, who was in the academy at the time, live if Itachi used his Sharingan and made Sasuke believe that he killed him. Then they would tell the Hokage and give him a head start out of the village before Hunter Nins would go after him, and if he ever told anyone the truth, the Root agent they had in place would kill Sasuke." As a number of people were considering the concepts, Kaharu remarked, "This is an outrage." Everyone was startled by Deidara's long, loud laugh, and he made several people wide-eyed when he said, "You know the funny thing about interrogation rooms, they have video surveillance." After scowling, the third person remarked, and I suppose you have this video. Kaharu and Hamaru relaxed when Deidara said, nope. But then he went on, at this moment Maelstrom should be showing it to Uchiha Sasuke. This made both Kaharu and Hamaru pale. Kaharu replied, Sarutobi, you must send Anbu to stop him immediately from poisoning the Uchiha mind. Zetsu replied, why? Because you afraid that you will lose your village's little bargaining chip from having Itachi come and kill you. Well, guess what, Itachi here in this village right now, in fact he's in this very room, causing Hamaru to vomit. After glancing around the room, the third person said, if he is in this room, then I wish for him to present himself before us to prove his guilt or innocence once and for all. Itachi sat next to a smoke-covered civilian council member and remarked, very well. Is what these men said true? Asked the third. Itachi stated, you already know that Kaharu, Danzo, Hamaru and I came to your office after the massacre. What these men spoke is the truth about what really happened. I may have been a prodigy, but there was no way one 13-year-old boy can kill over 100 members of his clan who all had years of experience over me with the Sharingan by myself. You just accepted the facts that were presented to you by your teammates and Danzo and never investigated it because of the political backlash that would result in it. Sasuke should be here shortly with the video evidence proving my case once and for all. Hiyashi responded, is what he's saying to Hokage-sama? Did they come to your office? The third gasped and closed his eyes before responding, yes. A civilian replied, then we should clear all charges from Itachi and reinstate him as a ninja of this village so he can restore his family. With a laugh, Itachi said, and why should I raise my family in a village that has turned its back on me and tried to kill me? I am sorry, but if you have not noticed, I am no longer a member of this village. Thanks to your actions I am now head of security to the Godem Mizukage, and if my brother accepts my offer he will rejoin the already restored Uchiha clan there. This caused a number of people to get wide-eyed, some to gasp, and others to yell indignantly. After letting out a great deal of ki, the third said, silence. At that moment, the door to the council chambers opened, and Sasuke and Maelstrom entered while two Chunin at the door collapsed, knocked unconscious. After the third scowled, Maelstrom remarked, they were only knocked out, they would have died if they had been an inch to the left. Good to see you again, Hokage-sama. With his Sharingan activated, Sasuke turned to face Itachi and questioned, is it true? Itachi replied, yes, they told me they would kill you if I did not accept their offer. Lies, don't listen to him, Anbu. Root, arrest these men, yelled Kaharu. Maelstrom laughed and replied, sorry lady, Root's dead, I killed all 400 of them last night. As for Anbu, they're a little tied up at the moment. Ibiki and the majority of the Anbu turned and puked after viewing the Root corpses at the Root headquarters, thinking, my god. So do I get that sucker now, mister? A little blonde girl with blue eyes and pigtails asked, her face smeared with blood. Did you see who did this? Ibiki asked, glancing at the girl. The girl pointed to a heart that was sitting nearby and said, you like my art? I did this all by myself. Daddy Danzo was screaming for joy at what I did when he saw it. See, there's his heart. Danzo, what kind of monster are you to turn a little girl like her into someone who could do this? Ibiki thought as he puked once more. Suckers. The girl smiled and asked herself, I wonder how much chakra I have left before this Kagebunshin body goes poof. Do you have any evidence to deny my brother's claims, Hokage-sama? Sasuke asked, scowling as he continued to look at his brother. After glancing at Sasuke, the third said, I am afraid not. This guy here said you have started to restore our clan in a new home away from these traitors, is that correct? Sasuke asked, turning to face Itachi. Itachi replied, yes, I have 2 sons and my wife has a daughter on the way. He held up the photo and said, I got the picture you sent to the Hokage. See. After taking the photo, Sasuke turned to face Itachi and remarked, I need time to think, brother. Itachi replied, I understand. I must be returning to my family. If you wish to join us, come to the Hidden Mist village in the land of water. See the Mizukage. I must be going. Can you send me back, Maelstrom? Maelstrom said, sure, Raven. He then produced a small scroll and smeared it with blood. Itachi rose in smoke, and Maelstrom yelled, Two-Face, catch. He then threw the scroll to Zetsu, who pocketed it before dissolving back into the earth. As his body broke apart into clay and tumbled down an air vent, shocking everyone, Clay's face said, now that all this is taken care of, have a nice day. Maelstrom went up in smoke. According to Hamaru, we must stop them, the third person inquired, and how are we to do that? I don't know anyone else who can do what they can. They have already demonstrated they can basically do whatever the hell they want because the members that we have seen are all easily S-rank missing nins or ninja. Shukaku replied, and now you see why I was so panicked when they came here all those years ago, sir. This is only a taste of what they can do. The third speaker stated, "As of this moment I am issuing martial law, all civilian council members are to leave." Sasuke grabbed 2 shurikens from his weapon pouch and hurled them at the council members after glancing at Kaharu and Hamaru, who were staring at the Sandame. As both elders deflected them with kunai, there was the sound of metal hitting metal. Hiyashi grabbed Sasuke right away, and Sasuke screamed, "Let me go! Let me go! They murder my family! I must avenge my family and kill them!" Hiyashi knocked him unconscious with a chop to the back of his neck. "What is Ibiki? I sent for Anbu more than 15 minutes ago, and the threat has gone. Why do you have that girl here, and who is she?" The third person asked, closing his eyes as he saw Ibiki and a group of Anbu enter the room, looking pale, with blonde hair and blue eyes covered in blood. Ibiki stated, "Sir Danzo and his entire root operation was killed, and this girl showed us to them and claimed she did it." The third said, "CYA," as he walked away in a cloud of smoke after glancing at the girl who was covered in smoke and showing everyone Maelstrom. The third person looked at him and said, "Ibiki, the village is officially under martial law. No one comes in, no one goes out until order can be restored. Also arrest Kaharu and Hamaru for the destruction of the Uchiha clan." Blinking, Ibiki said, "Sir," the third party stated, "new evidence has come to light that Shoditachi was innocent of the massacre and that it was all done by root under orders of Danzo and Kaharu and Hamaru. They forced Itachi to take the blame in order to save his brother's life. Have Sasuke taken to the hospital and have a guard placed on him. He already tried to kill Kaharu and Hamaru." Inoichi and Sume both used pressure points to knock the elders unconscious as the Sandame started talking. The third said, "We will meet this afternoon to discuss what is happening. I need to get some order in the village in the meantime," as he noticed the clan heads staring at him as they were being removed. They all nod and head out. "Damn it," said the third. "How did all of this occur?" Ino entered a room in the hospital where a red-headed boy was unconscious in bed and she was holding some flowers. In a defensive position, a blonde girl said, "What do you want?" "A man came and ordered these to be brought here to you from my family's flower shop," Ino said. She held out the flowers and said, "I don't want to cause any trouble." After Tamari put the flowers down, Ino hurried off. "You're scary when you want to be, sis," Kankuro said with a laugh. Tamari gave him a fierce look, took the card, read it, scowled for a moment, then crumbled it and destroyed it with her wind chakra. Kankuro inquired, "What did it say?" "Nothing important," Tamari said. "We are just being sucked up by someone because we are cage children. I'll go get us some food and bring it back. You see till I return. Stay here with him." Kankuro replied, "But Baki-sensei told us to stay here until he gets back." A moment later, Tamari exclaimed, "Kankuro, what if they try to kill him now? What if they believe he is a defective instrument? Would they try to get rid of him, in your opinion?" With a frown, Kankuro uttered, "I don't know, sis. Don't leave him alone with anyone else but us," Tamari said, glancing at her brothers. "For now, they're all we can rely on, not even sensei." With narrowed eyes, Kankuro questioned, "What's wrong, sis?" "I just want to make sure you both are okay," Tamari said, biting her lip. "I must take a breath. I'll be back soon," she said as she walked out of the room. Kankuro glanced at her, then at his younger brother, and scowled. 20 minutes later, Tamari declared, "I'm here," as she stepped out onto the Hokage mountain. "What do you want, then?" "So did you think about what my scroll said yesterday?" Naruto asked, turning to face her. Recalling the scroll, Tamari scowled. Flashback. As the medics arrived and started to remove Gaara, Tamari was holding his body when a scroll fell to the ground. Tamari blinked as she picked it up and saw the kanji for her name and private. Baki entered and stated, "The doctor said that he should be fine in a few hours, but they don't know what effect having Shukaku taken from him has." She followed the medics as they examined Gaara and put him in the room. "I have to tell Suna what's happened," she said, and walked away. "Sis, are you hungry?" Kankuro inquired. "Yeah," Tamari replied, "you know what I like." She took the scroll out, opened it, and read it after Kankuro left. "What will you do now that you have your brother back and don't have to worry about him killing you? Will you continue to treat him like a monster out of fear, or will you be the big sister he has always needed? I will get in touch with you shortly for a private meeting. Come by yourself. What do you think your village will do to him now? They have already attempted to kill him when he was a defective weapon." Finish the flashback. "What is it you want?" Tamari inquired. Naruto stated, "I want to help your brother like someone helped me. I used to be just like him here in Konoha, people treating me like a demon and trying to kill me. I've seen what people can do, which is why I have become who I am. You and your siblings are worth a lot alive, but you're worth more dead to your village." "Is that a threat?" Tamari asked, placing a hand on her fan. Naruto replied, "No, I am just telling you what to expect." With Orochimaru escaping the ambush my team had set up for him, I was forced to reveal the fact he has already killed your father. Personally, I had no plan to reveal that because your village needs to show your feudal lord that you are not to be thrown away, so your village would knock Konoha down a few pegs, but now that he has survived I can't let that happen, which is why I had the Ichibi removed from him. Without the demon your village won't do the attack, saving them from becoming weakened along with Konoha. Then what is it you're saying? Tamari scowled. Naruto stated, use that brain of yours. With your father dead, you three are now very valuable political pieces. They will either marry you off to make a new alliance to buy them time to elect a new Kazekage, or what I honestly expect them to do is have your sensei kill you three while you are here in Konoha and make it appear that either me, Konoha, or Orochimaru did it, so that way they can demand payment in the form of a bloodline or two from Konoha for failing to protect you under their watch. I don't like that option, so I am here to offer you and your brothers a choice. After giving his words some thought, Tamari questioned, what is this offer? Naruto replied, my master Raz Al Ghul would like to have you and your brothers join the League of Shadows. Tamari responded, who is this Raz Al Ghul and what is the League of Shadows? I apologize, Naruto said with a gentle smile, before I let you know that, you would need to consent to join us. You can currently fight 10 men by yourself. With the mere mention of your name, we can teach you to be powerful enough to frighten 1,000 people. You can be with your brothers as you want to be and not have to worry about being sent off to marry some fat politician or abusive husband who would use your services. If you join us, you will become stronger than you could ever imagine. We will provide you with the means to take charge of your own destiny if you join us. What proof do you have you can do as you offer? Tamari asked, biting her lip. Do you remember my teammate Scorpion? Asked Naruto. With a slow nod, Tamari said, the puppet user. He was originally from Suna, just like you, Naruto said. Akasuna no Sasori existed 5 years prior to his. Sasori agreed to join us after I defeated him in a puppet battle 5 years ago, defeating his whole army of puppets, including the Sandame Kazekage puppet, which he had transformed into a human puppet using just one puppet I made using the knowledge I gained from the League of Shadows. Sasori died 5 years ago and reincarnated as Scorpion. Come along with us, and your brother Kankuro will learn everything Scorpion has learned since joining us as his apprentice. Someone who is regarded as the greatest puppet user in history is the ideal person to teach your brother how to use a puppet. Gaara, your brother, comes next. He no longer has Shukaku to control his sand in order to protect and sustain him. Since no one has ever been able to touch him, he only possesses those abilities. In addition to teaching him how to use his sand powers, we will also teach him how to become a well-rounded fighter so that neither he nor you can be defeated. You currently only have a basic understanding of taijutsu and are a long-range wind user. If you join us, we can teach you not only taijutsu but also ninjutsu, genjutsu, medical jutsu, kenjutsu, and anything else you want to learn. We can also give you access to wind jutsu, which not even Suna is familiar with. You can help us change the world, just like we did in the Land of Water, if you join us and we open the world to you. Biting her lip, Tamari uttered, I need to talk to my brothers and think about this. Naruto declared, this is a summoning scroll. After taking a scroll out of his pocket, you will call me if you open it, but don't wait too long before vanishing in a flash of yellow. He gave her the scroll and gave her a gentle peck on the cheek. I don't want to see a beautiful young woman like you die or mourn the loss of her family. Tamari examined the scroll, bit her lip, put it in her pocket, and walked away thinking. Naruto showed up in an abandoned house in the Uchiha district, changed into his armor and mask, and then walked out, asking, so is everything proceeding as planned? Yes, said Two Faces, everything is proceeding according to our plan. The expression on Clay's face was, so when will we strike? We wait in the shadows for the time being. Maelstrom said, I want you Two-Face to follow the Kazekage kids and make sure they don't get hurt. And I want you Clayface to follow the Uchiha. If either is attacked, call me, he said. Melting into a shadow, the Clayface replied, so when do you think you will let me blow this place up in a display of art? Two Faces melted into the ground and shrugged.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.